the magician in the world of Doraemon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176 Battle. Just as Kodama Yoshio finished speaking, the window was suddenly broken, and a black shadow flew in. At this time, Yu and Daisy was holding the phone, and had no time to react, so Zyadishan took the lead, and used his mental power to bounce it away. Yu and Daisy immediately felt the strong aura of death on him, and said to the president of the Inagora Association, "Don't hang up the phone yet, the person you said is here." Then he put the phone aside. At this time, the guy was lying on the wall, staring at Zyadishan and Daisy with a pair of scholar eyes. Zyadishan was a little angry when he saw that the window of his house was broken. He stepped forward and questioned the uninvited guest. "Who are you, and why are you looking for trouble with us?" This time, it was not like Yu and Daisy thought that they would start fighting directly. The monster suddenly began to negotiate with them. "If you hadn't ruined our plan, I wouldn't have come here. If you give up interfering in Kodama Yoshio's affairs, I will withdraw immediately, and no one will bother you anymore." "Impossible." Unexpectedly, Zyadishan spoke first. "The guy who created the baby ghost. I will never let you go." "That's right, there can't be peace between us." Daz's point of view is the same as Zyadishan's. Some things can't be stopped so easily once they start. It's better to kill the enemy directly than to believe in the enemy's illusory promises. The reaction of the two children did not exceed its expectations. In fact, it didn't intend to leave them alive. "In this case, you can die." He kicked his feet on the wall and kicked a hole in the wall with great force. He rushed towards them with the help of the reaction force. Just when Yu and Daisy was about to take out the dark blade to cut him, Zyadishan suddenly used his mental power to send a message to me. "Don't do it. This time I also want to find an opponent to exercise my actual combat ability." Since he said so, Yu and Daisy stood by and planned to stand by and watch. Of course, to be on the safe side, he still took out the wood spirit staff and prepared a third level thunder spell to prevent sudden accidents. Zyadishan watched the ghost rushing towards him and stood still. Just when the ghost thought he was going to succeed, a piece of glass suddenly flew from behind and pierced through the ghost's shoulder. And the body was also tilted to one side due to external force, breaking the door next to it. Really, a fight will definitely destroy things. While they were fighting, Yu and Daisy recited the spell again. Earth magic, copper wall and iron wall. A surge of earth magic power surged out and reinforced the house. Seeing that the thing couldn't get up for the time being, Zyadishan stretched out his hand, and several pieces of glass fragments flew over, melting and combining into a sharp blade. When the ghost saw Zyadishan take out the weapon, blood-red nails grew on his hands to deal with his sword. Is this Zyadishan's ability? Just now, it should be the reorganization of the atomic sequence. Seeing that the glass and the nails were not at a disadvantage in the fight, Yu and Daisy was relieved, but it was soon replaced by doubts. "Wait, this swordplay seems familiar." Yu and Daisy looked at the way Zyadishan swung the sword and felt that it was somewhat similar to the swordplay he had practiced in Yunding before. This is impossible. He used the Demon King's 7 swords that I practiced before. Yu and Daisy covered his head and began to collapse. How is it possible? He is not here when I usually practice swordplay. If he really learned it secretly, it could only be that I saw it when he used the crystal ball last Saturday. But it has only been a few days. How can he be so proficient? Yu and Daisy finally regained his confidence and stood up and saw him use the first move of the 7 swords, explosion. The way the body exerted force changed instantly, and the speed of the sword blade increased to a point that was invisible to the naked eye. The friction with the air created a sound barrier, and a creepy sound rang in the ears of the 3 people. Before the sound reached his ears, the sword blade had already landed on the ghost, leaving a huge wound on his abdomen, and blood gushed out instantly. Seeing this scene, Yu and Daisy began to pray in his heart that there would be no second stage representing the entry. But it turns out that Izuki is indeed a genius. As long as he can learn something, he can learn it quickly. The air above the blade was compressed to the extreme because it had no time to flow, and it burst out the moment the sharp blade cut into the body. The violent airflow raged in the carrier of the ghost, destroying his internal organs in an instant. Yu and Dazi knelt down with the ghost. It's really, in just a few days? Yu and Dazi still couldn't believe it. He practiced non-stop for 5 days to reach the basics. This guy did it so well, after watching it a few times. Boss, please accept my knees. Xiaoshan didn't expect that Yu and Dazi's swordsmanship was so powerful that he killed people directly. He stared at the blood on his body blankly. After a few seconds of being stunned, he threw away the sword in his hand and collapsed on the ground. I killed someone. Xiaoshan covered his head with his bloody hands, still unbelievable. Seeing that his condition was very bad, Yu and Dazi wanted to go over to comfort him. At this moment, a ghost slowly emerged from the body of the man, trying to take advantage of the most vulnerable moment of Dekishi's heart to occupy his body. Yu and Dazi, who was standing by, noticed it immediately, and the lightning spell was already prepared. Lightning flew out of his hand and struck the ghost. Lightning magic is extremely harmful to pure souls, and large areas of charred appeared on the ghost's body. Seeing this guy next to him, he knew that it was impossible to occupy this perfect body, so he escaped through the window. Yu and Dazi took a step forward and wanted to chase him, but Xiaoshan's soul was very unstable, so he had to give up the pursuit again. When he walked to his side, he was still at a loss and said, I killed someone, what should I do? Now he could call the soul-devouring monument to wash his memory and then let him go to sleep. But he didn't plan to do this. They might face this kind of thing again in the future, so let him get used to it first. So Yu and Dazi patted him on the back and said to him, don't worry, this guy's no longer a human. After hearing his words, Xiaoshan's condition improved a little. He looked up and asked Yu and Dazi, he is no longer a human, is it true? He nodded and continued, yes, after anyone signs a contract with a ghost, his soul has become a ghost. Then his body will gradually become a demon, and he will have power that ordinary people cannot match, just like him. Yu and Dazi pointed at the horns on his head and the blood red eyes, so you don't have to worry, you just killed a devil without any rights, although he looks like a human. Xiaoshan unconsciously repeated Yu and Dazi's words, I killed a devil? Great. Seeing that his emotions had stabilized, Yu and Dazi pulled him up. He casually washed the blood off his body with a cleaning spell and let him have a good rest. Then Yu and Dazi walked to the corridor and burned the monster's body to ashes with a flame. After cleaning up the last traces, he picked up the phone again and continued to talk to the president. I have already dealt with it here, but my companion is a little unstable. The ghost ran away, and they will not attack you before I die. Remember to continue to investigate the clues, and I will visit them in person. The president on the opposite side agreed, and then said, I'm really sorry to let you get involved in our dispute. If you have any requests, just let me know, and I will try my best to meet your needs. Yu and Dazi wanted to refuse, but then he thought of what happened some time ago, when a person occupied the vacant lot, and that vacant lot is also their usual gathering place. If there is anything, they can probably find someone in the vacant lot, so it is better to keep that place in hand. So Yu and Dazi said to him, since they all know our location, I believe you should have secretly investigated it. Don't lie, I can hear it. The opposite Kodomo Yoshio was silent for a long time before saying, yes, I already know your address. Yu and Dazi did not blame him for this. He believed that, if it were him, he would do the same. If something really happened, he could also find his savior in the first time. You should also know that we have a small place called vacant land here. Buy it for me. I want this land. He agreed without any hesitation. No problem. I guarantee that the purchase contract will be delivered to you within 3 days. Yu and Dazi suddenly remembered and quickly added, remember that the purchase method must be normal means. No problem. We don't like to do bad things. After that, Yu and Dazi had nothing to do, so he hung up the phone and went to prepare dinner. In the kitchen, while letting the golden cloak cook, he thought about the ghost just now. That guy must be seriously injured. He was hit by a 3rd level magic and didn't die. It seems that he must have considerable strength. This time, the matter is really troublesome. Thinking of this, Yu and Dazi scratched his hair. There was too little information, so he should just work peacefully. Not long after, their meal was ready, and Yu and Daisy went up to call him to eat. Chumashin and Yu and Daisy walked to the street, and the colors around them were all grey. At this time, a person suddenly bumped into Chumashin, and there was a big hole in his abdomen. Then he grabbed Chumashin's hand tightly. "You killed me. The murderer is you." Zyadishin quickly pushed the guy away. "What are you talking about? It was obviously you who bumped into me, and when did I kill you?" But the man lay on the ground and died immediately. A bunch of people came from nowhere and pointed at Zyadishin. "I didn't expect that such a quiet person would be a murderer." Yes, you can't know a person's heart by his appearance. Maybe he has killed many people behind his back. Even Yu and Daisy gradually moved away from him. "I really didn't expect that you would kill someone. I don't know your friend. Stay away from me." Zyadishin immediately caught up with him, and when his hand touched Yu and Daz's chest, a hole appeared on his body, and then he knelt on the ground. "I didn't expect that you would do that to me." Before he finished speaking, he died. "No, it's not me. I didn't kill anyone." He retreated again and again, trying to stay away from Yu and Daz's body. But at this moment, Yu and Daz's body stood up again, with the hole in his chest still hanging on his body. A pair of eyes had no color, but stared at him. Chumashin, get up and have dinner." Yu and Daisy was beside his bed, and he couldn't be woken up, no matter how he called. "Really, why are you sleeping so deeply?" Just as he began to complain, Zyadishin sat up and yelled, "I didn't kill anyone." Turning around, he saw Yu and Daisy beside him. He was so scared that he lifted the quilt and hid in the quilt, shivering. "Everyone, please vote more these days. I want to sign a contract. If I'm more popular, my success rate will be higher. If I succeed, I will update twice a day. Thank you for your support." Chapter 177. Remember to let the tea cool down. Seeing him so scared, Yu and Daisy asked expressionlessly, "Why are you covering yourself in the quilt? Are you hatching eggs?" Hearing the familiar tone, he opened the quilt a little and looked at Yu and Daisy. "Is it really you? Yu Anjin, are you still alive?" Hearing him say that, Yu and Daisy lifted his blanket. "So you just want me to die? I really misjudged you." However, what he didn't expect was that Chumashin suddenly pounced on him and threw Yu and Daisy to the ground. "It's great that you are not dead." Yu and Daisy didn't react for a while. What happened to this guy? Is his brain broken? Then he picked up Chumashin by the collar and lifted him up. "Okay, I will definitely live longer than you. Let's go eat now." The food below was ready, and Yu and Daz's golden cloak was there holding a cup of black tea waiting for them to sit down. Seeing that it was drinking tea, he immediately complained, "Why are you drinking tea like this? Do you have a mouth?" Yu and Daisy was responded with a cup of fresh black tea. Wiping the tea off his face with his hand, he commented lightly, "The tea tastes good, but you put too much milk in it. Remember to add more sugar. By the way, next time, remember to let it cool down first. It's a little hot." Seeing them like this, Zyadishin couldn't help laughing, and the haze in her heart was much less. Sitting down, they devoured the food in front of them. The cloak next to them saw that they were eating happily and flew around in the sky happily. For a chef who doesn't get paid, the smile of the guests is the best reward. This time, the happy cloak picked up the bowl very readily and flew to the side to wash the dishes. "What about the ghost that came later? Did you catch it?" Yu and Daisy shook his head. "I wanted to catch it, but I saw that you were in a bad condition, so I gave up the plan." But she was seriously injured, and she probably won't be able to go back to Hokkaido for a while. Then Yu and Daisy took out the dark blade and put it on the table and asked him, "When did you secretly learn my swordsmanship? In the rules of our world, stealing someone else's inheritance is a serious crime. The soul-devouring monument attaches great importance to the inheritance of the demon clan." If he knew that Zyadishin had secretly learned, although he might not pursue it, he might also kill him to prevent this extra thing from being leaked. In ancient times, if you secretly learned someone else's inheritance and were discovered by them, you would be caught by their master, and thousands of swords would pierce your body, cutting off your meridians, forever destroying your possibility of practicing. Hearing that Yu and as he was pursuing the matter, Zyadishan felt a little embarrassed. I saw you practicing this sword technique in the sky last time, so I wrote it down. I think you won't mind, right? I don't mind, but that guy might pursue it. He covered his forehead with his hand and began to call upon the soul-devouring monument in his sea of consciousness. Soon, the voice of the soul-devouring monument appeared in his ears. What's wrong? Didn't you say not to call me if there is nothing important? He did not directly tell him that Zyadishan had secretly learned swordsmanship, but asked him, Chumushan wants to learn swordsmanship, see if I can teach him the 7 swords of the Demon King? No. The soul-devouring monument rejected Yu and Dazi outright. This is one of the highest inheritances of the demon race, and it must not be leaked easily. He tried to persuade him. Then you said last time that you could teach him to practice magic power, and gave him a method to practice mental power. Why not this time? There is more than one method to extract magic power, and the effects are not much different, so it's okay to teach him. And this magic power is actually not the practice method of our demon race, because the human physique is not suitable for practicing our things. So I will give you this method that I created specifically for the human race. As for the method of practicing mental power for that child, I collected it when I was free, so it's naturally not a secret, so I'll give it to you. After a pause, the soul-devouring monument continued, so the physical inheritance of the demon race is the core of the entire inheritance, and you can't even think about handing it over. Seeing that there was no room for negotiation on this matter, Yu and Dazi had to say cautiously, then what should I do if someone learns secretly? What? Someone dares to learn secretly? The soul-devouring monument was instantly furious. No matter who it is, at least erase his memory. If it's an enemy, I will personally kill his entire family. Seeing that he was so excited, Dazi decided to calm him down first. Don't worry, no one is learning secretly. But Zyadishan wants to learn swordsmanship. See if there is anything else you can teach him. When he heard that his inheritance had not been leaked, his tone finally softened. Hey, I do have some. I can give him the Kangyu sword technique of the Kangyu sect. Ask him to come over, and I will give it to him personally. Yu and as he originally wanted to ask Zyadishan to come over to receive the inheritance, but he suddenly thought, if he came into contact with Zyadishan's soul, would it be possible to read his memory? To be on the safe side, he might as well give it to him himself. Don't bother, just give me this sword technique. I can also observe the sword techniques of other sects. Maybe I can learn by analogy. The soul-devouring monument was silent for a while before saying, then you give it to him yourself. Remember not to pass on our demon clan sword techniques. Then a picture appeared in Yu and Daz's memory. Not only the picture, but also the force generating techniques of each move and each style, which can be regarded as a very complete inheritance. After sitting outside and thinking for a while, he turned it on again after confirming that the soul-devouring monument had fallen asleep again. Zyadishan in front of him was very nervous, because it was not glorious to learn secretly, and Yu and Dazi just said that the person who passed on the spiritual power practice method to him would probably investigate this matter, so he was really nervous now. After confirming again that the soul-devouring monument was not peeking at the screen, he said to Zyadishan, the sword technique you saw before, absolutely don't use it again, especially not in front of me. It would be very dangerous. Although Zyadishan didn't know why Yu and Dazi asked him to do this, he still nodded obediently. Then he passed the sword technique he had just received to his sea of consciousness, and told him, now you can use this set of sword techniques for now. Although it is not as good as the one I used before, he only allowed you to use this one. After solving the inheritance issue, they came to the second floor, and began to worry about the hole and broken window above. Zyadishan, can you repair these things with atomic recombination? Zyadishan nodded. Of course, no problem, but I can only repair it bit by bit, and it will take a day or two. Yu and Dazi frowned. It actually takes so long? Forget it, let's work harder today. Let him stand aside. Yu and Dazi picked up his wooden spirit staff, and began to chant, magic, time reversal. The magic stone of the wooden spirit staff burst into a brilliant light, a clock shadow appeared, and the broken stones and glass gradually flew back to their original positions. More than 10 seconds later, Yu and Dazi looked at the glass and wall that were already intact, panting, and finally finished. I didn't expect this magic to consume so much. In just over an hour, it has consumed more than half of my magic power. This is just for inanimate objects. If it were a living thing, I don't know how exhausted I would be. He put away the wood spirit staff, and all the free magic power and a talisman in his sea of consciousness were exhausted. Seeing that Yu and Daz's magic could actually involve time, Xiaoshan was very excited to observe the damaged parts just now. It's amazing. These places are exactly the same as before the damage. Of course, this is a magic that directly reverses time. Although he was a little tired, he was very happy to see that Dimushan was shocked by him. He finally got back on track. Okay, Xiaoshan, don't be surprised there. Now we still have to do what we should do. Don't forget that we still have to go to see Sadako tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Yu and Dazi yawned. He was indeed a little tired today. He turned around and answered him with full energy. Don't worry, Yu-Anjun, I will definitely work hard. Then he turned around and started studying. Before they knew it, it was already past 9 o'clock in the evening. They went downstairs to wash and prepare for bed. Yu and Dazi had been practicing magic for a long time today, so he didn't plan to practice this time, and went to bed early. At this moment, Xiaoshan on the bed suddenly turned around and asked him, Yu-Anjun, if I really killed someone one day, what would you do? Yu and Dazi thought for a while and answered him, we in the dark world don't care much about killing. As long as you have a legitimate reason, we won't say anything to you if you kill him. Of course, don't try to reason with the police. Xiaoshan once again recalled the dream of this afternoon, so he continued to ask him, if one day, everyone in the world says that I killed someone, but I really didn't kill anyone, will you believe me? Of course I believe you. You and I have been together for so long. Don't I know who you are? Why should I believe some strangers? Yu and as he reached out and patted his shoulder, don't worry, if that day really comes, I will stand by you. Thank you, Dazi-jun. He turned his head and continued to sleep. Yu and Dazi looked at him in confusion for a while. What was wrong with this guy today? After a while, he had to lie down and sleep. The next day, they came to school, and the teacher announced a good news. The results of the competition some time ago have come out. Our classmate Dekisugi won the first prize, and Shizuka won the second prize. This morning, our principal will hold a rally to present them with certificates and trophies, and also thank them for winning honors for our school. After that, the crowd below did not just clap their hands symbolically. After all, Shizuka and Dekisugi are usually excellent, and getting these results is a matter of course in their eyes. Seeing that Xiaoshan actually won the first prize, although it was expected, he was still very happy. Then Yu and Dazi silently calculated the money in his pocket to see what he could buy to celebrate this afternoon. In the afternoon, Xiaoshan walked home with a brand new certificate and a golden trophy in his hand, while Yu and Dazi cast his eyes on a candy store. Wait here for me, I'll be back soon. He left Xiaoshan there and ran to the candy store across the street. Chapter 178 Contract in hand. A few minutes later, Yu and Dazi came back with 2 rainbow lollipops in his hand. He handed the larger lollipop to him. Here, this is to celebrate your winning the first prize. I bought it for you. Xiaoshan took it, looked at the candy and said, thank you. I haven't received a gift from others for a long time. He tore open the package of the small lollipop in his hand and put the candy into his mouth. A gentle sweetness filled his heart, and his mood became brighter. And Dekishan looked at the candy in his hand and had no intention of eating it. Yu and Dazi asked him curiously, what's wrong? Don't you like to eat this kind of candy? Yu and Dazi only thought at this time that he basically solved the snacks at home. As for Xiaoshan, he basically doesn't eat snacks and sweets. Occasionally, when Shizuka called him over, he would eat a little. He nodded. I don't usually eat candy. This one is a bit too much. It's really rare for a child who doesn't eat candy. Yu and Dazi didn't care about his opinion and said to himself. Xiaoshan gave him a serious explanation. Eating too much sugar is bad for your teeth, and if you eat sweets for a long time, it is easy to cause symptoms such as diabetes. After hearing his explanation, Yu and Daisy didn't mind at all, although it has disadvantages. Sugar is very sweet. But sugar is just a mixture of some pigments and flavors. It's useless at all. In the eyes of people like Xiaoshan, candy is just a chronic poison. She took the candy out of her mouth, looked at it and said, but it's really sweet. Eating too much is indeed not good for people, but when you are old, do you hope that your memories will not even have this little sweetness of life? She put the candy back into her mouth and continued, I once said that you are not a brave man because you have no dreams. Candy is like a dream, which makes people happy and easy to indulge in. And there are only ideals left in your life, only the bitterness of fighting for your ideals. So you have gained a lot. Always first in the class, first in the grade, always the child of other people's families in the eyes of adults, who can leave us at home with confidence. Then she turned her head and looked at him, but you have also lost a lot. No one bullies you, no one protects you, no one shows off in front of you, no one asks you out to play. Everyone treats you badly, and no one treats you well. Are you willing to always be a marginal person in everyone's eyes? Are you willing to look back on your life in your twilight years, and there will only be the image of you writing furiously at your desk, with nothing worth recalling? After speaking, the two of them were silent for a while. Seeing that Demoshin was slow to speak, Yu and as he simply peeled off his candy and stuffed it into his mouth. Taste it well. What is the sweetness of dreams? Xiaoshan was thinking about what Yu and Daisy had just said. He never thought that he would actually put candy in his mouth. He didn't know what to do for a while. When he finally realized that there was something in his mouth, he hurriedly wanted to take out the candy. However, a long lost sweetness gradually appeared in his mouth, making him temporarily give up this plan. Just eat a little this time. Xiaoshan silently relaxed his bottom line in his heart. At 10 o'clock in the evening, they deliberately did not practice too much magic and mental power, just to be able to exert their peak strength at this time. Xiaoshan, you should know where Yamagachi lives. I know, it's a bit far from us, about half an hour away. Seeing that he knew the way, Yu and as he was relieved. Okay, you lead the way this time. The two walked quickly in the night and came to an old wooden house. That's it. Yu and as he felt the yin energy around the house from a distance. As he approached, he felt the temperature around him begin to drop madly, and even the plants in the courtyard were covered with frost. This yin energy, I don't believe it's not haunted. Even a physique like Yu and as he felt a little chill, and the promise letter was already trembling all over, and his mental power could not bring him a bit of warmth. Daisy had to take out the embrace of the goddess of dawn, and put it on him again to relieve the cold. And as his expression was solemn, Sadako is likely to appear tonight, so we must not let our guard down. Understood. 12 o'clock passed in a flash, and although the cold was heavier, there was no sign of Sadako appearing. And as he got into the golden cloak, injected magic power and teleported directly back to Xiaoshan's room. It seems that we can only go tomorrow. Xiaoshan nodded, and then the two went to bed together. When he got up the next morning, he didn't feel very sleepy, because his mental power was sufficient. He came to the classroom early, and began to wait for Yamagachi. Not long after, Yamagachi came to the classroom. At this time, Yu and as he used his magic to observe, and found that a woman's phantom could be seen behind him. Although the strength of this Sadako was not as good as the ghost that had come to their house to wreak havoc before, she was not an easy character to get along with. And that half-baked Lizanai was still giving useless comfort, and he didn't notice Sadako behind Yamagachi at all. Yu and as he dared to say that, if he confronted Sadako head-on, he would definitely not live long. After school in the afternoon, Nobita was very honest these 2 days, and didn't make any trouble. And Yu and as he also asked for leave from Nobita's mother, because he really had something to do and couldn't go out these days. As soon as he arrived at the door of his house, he saw several men in black suits standing respectfully in front of their door, holding a briefcase in his hand. Seeing this, he knew that it was Kodama Yoshio's people who came, and he couldn't help complaining. Really, didn't you say not to let his men come? Although he was a little unhappy, Yu and as he also knew that it was impossible for a president to be around him all day long, so he didn't say anything else. When the man in the suit saw the two people coming back, He hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Excuse me, is this you and Dazi and Dekisugi say?" They nodded. "Yes, it's us. Did the president ask you to send the contract over?" The man in the suit smiled and took out a folder. "Yes, the president asked me to discuss this matter. It has been all settled today. This is the contract. However, because you are not yet adults, your signature is not legally binding, so this land is temporarily under the name of our Inagora Association, and it will be handed over to you after you come of age." "No problem, let me see the contract." And as he reached out to take his folder and read it with Zayashi, after confirming that it was correct, he handed the document to him, but this time the man in the suit refused. "This document is a photocopy for you, and it is left for you as a copy. The original has been sent back to the Inagora Association headquarters, so please accept it. I have something else to do, so I will go back to the Inagora Association first. Two children, see you next time." After saying that, the man in the suit waved goodbye to them. Now the Inagora Society is the nominal owner of the vacant land, but the contract states that, except for the ownership, all rights and interests belong to the two children. In other words, even if they throw a fireball on the ground, as long as the fireball is still within the vacant land, no one can say anything. Moreover, they are very rigorous in their work. They not only bought the vacant land, but also sold the small courtyard behind the vacant land and all the vacant places near the vacant land. After collecting the contract, they walked into the room together. Now they just wait for the time to reach 12 o'clock. The time turned to 11 o'clock again. They locked the door, then opened the window and jumped out. In order not to alert the snake, Yu and Dazi did not use teleportation, because there will be light when teleporting, which is the most taboo thing for ghosts. Dazi and Zayashi came all the way to Yamaguchi's house and found that the temperature here was several degrees lower and the yin energy was heavier. As usual, he took out the cloak and put it on Zayashi, then took out the crystal ball and began to monitor every move inside the house. At this time, everyone in the house gathered in the living room. The kid Lee Zinayu, who claimed to be from a family of exorcists in the Celestial Empire, was standing in the middle of the group, drawing an unknown talisman. He looked at the time, and it was already 11:30. Yu and Dazi looked at the scene in the crystal ball, and said to himself, "It's less than half an hour before Sadako appears. I wonder what amazing performance he can make." Soon after, the lights in the Yamaguchi family began to flicker, and the surrounding yin-ki reached a peak. Yu and Dazi was observing the crystal ball, and suddenly felt that there seemed to be something around him, and he immediately became alert. He made a silent gesture to Zayashi, and raised the perspective of the crystal ball, and the surrounding scene appeared in front of them. Yu and Dazi looked at the place where the movement had just been heard, and a middle-aged man in a yellow Taoist robe was standing on a tree. He used a similar method to observe the interior of the house as the other two did, holding an 8-diagram mirror to check the situation in the room. Zayashi looked at the middle-aged man in the yellow Taoist robe and asked, "Dazi, are you people in the dark world so good at surveillance?" And Dazi rolled his eyes, indicating that he didn't want to talk. After a few minutes, the situation inside changed again. The TV that had been turned off suddenly began to flash gray spots. Looking at this scene, he couldn't help but sigh. What a familiar scene. When I was a child, I watched TV and there were no programs. This situation would appear. Calculating the time, it should have been 8 years, right? But it was not as relaxed as they were watching outside. At this time, even if Lee Zinai was a bit nervous, he found something wrong. The yin energy around him had reached a point that he could not bear. Oh no, I really should have called my dad to come with me. Now he was silently regretting in his heart. Why did he have to be so strong? Calling his dad, this ghost wouldn't be easy to catch. The middle-aged man outside sneered, "If it weren't for your father's wit, I found that you had a grudge, and if I didn't have a plan to go out to search for your resentful mother today, you would really be stuck here." Not long after the TV flickered, a scene appeared on the TV again. Everyone was watching the TV, not even daring to breathe. An ancient well appeared on the TV screen, and the sound of flowing water could be heard faintly. It seems something is climbing up. Chapter 179. The old father appears. "Hey, who's going to turn off the TV?" Yamaguchi said in a trembling voice, looking at the screen in front of him. His father also answered him tremblingly. I remember it very clearly. I unplugged the power. At this time, a pale hand stretched out from the well mouth in the TV, bringing a sound of water waves. Lee Zenai clenched the talisman paper in his hand and held a sound transmission talisman at the same time. If something went wrong, he would contact his father immediately. Sadako slowly climbed out of the well and began to approach the TV screen. The faceless head gradually stretched out of the TV. They could also feel the rapid increase in humidity around them outside, and they gradually felt that breathing was a little difficult. Damn, why is the water mist around so heavy? Yu and Dazi waved his hand impatiently, trying to disperse the water vapor around him. This kind of water vapor not only affects people's breathing, but also gradually takes away their vitality, although it is of no use to him. The people inside were even more uncomfortable, and they felt as if they were in a quagmire, and every move was extremely difficult. Soon, Sadako completely climbed out of the TV, and her face covered by long hair turned to Yamaguchi. Now the only person he cursed was Yamaguchi, so he only targeted him. As for the others, I will give them invitations after I go back this time and ask them to come down and take a bath together in 7 days. Lee Zenai immediately threw out the talisman he was holding tightly in his hand, and a flame rose up and hit Sadako's white clothes. Sadako seemed to hate this power very much and hurriedly slapped the burning part of her body with her wet hands. Under this condition, the flame only lasted for less than 3 seconds before it went out. As for the place that was burned by the flame just now, only a small black spot was left, and it returned to its original state after a few seconds. Looking at Sadako, Lee Zenai hurriedly activated the sound transmission talisman in his hand to ask for support. This guy actually dispersed my ghost-killing spirit fire so easily? Has her resentment reached this point? Sadako looked at the person who had just burned her with flames and pointed her finger at Lee Zenai. He suddenly felt his throat being held by a cold hand, and regardless of the heartache, he hurriedly threw out several talismans he had drawn. This time the flames were more powerful, and the surrounding water vapor was blown away a lot. Sadako just shook her long black hair, and countless water drops flew out, extinguishing the pale blue flames in the air. However, it was this action of hers that loosened the invisible hand on Lee Zenai's neck. Lee Zenai fell to the ground and cut his left wrist with the nail of his right hand, and blood gushed out. Then he raised his index finger and middle finger in front of himself and used his spiritual power to guide the blood to draw a few blood runes. Blood curse, words of life. As soon as the voice fell, the runes in the air ignited green flames and flew towards Sadako, who was still trying to approach Yamaguchi. Oh, this time it's interesting. Yu and Dazi looked at the spell and cut a small cut on his hand. D-Mushin next to him turned his head away, unwilling to watch this scene. Yu and Dazi tried to reproduce the trajectory of power operation he had just learned on his body, and the magic power was entangled in the blood, forming a brand new rune. Looking at the blood talisman that had just been made, Yu and Dazi always felt very familiar. This text is really similar to the life talisman I carved before. This time, Sadako could not choose to ignore the flame, because there was a power that frightened her. Sadako raised her hands, and the surrounding mist enveloped the blood talisman, trying to extinguish the flame. However, the mist that had always been effective before was invalid, and the flame was almost unaffected by the mist, and continued to fly towards her. Lee Zenai, who had just performed this move, had fallen to the ground, because he had consumed a lot of blood, and was a little weak. When the others saw this scene, a glimmer of hope ignited in their hearts, but the facts soon gave them a head-on blow. Seeing that her ability was ineffective, Sadako stood still, without dodging or evading, and let the blood talisman fall on her. The green flames quickly enveloped her whole body, and Sadako also let out a painful wail. Everyone present couldn't help but cover their ears with their hands when they heard this sound, including the two people outside and the Taoist priest. In this flame, they vaguely saw a very beautiful girl, but she was surrounded by black resentment, forming this monster that people were afraid of, and this green flame was purifying the black mist. Just when everyone thought they could win, the little power in the blood talisman was exhausted. The flame and the girl's figure disappeared together, and only Sadako was still there. But now she is not doing well. Just now, a lot of her resentment was burned away, and her soul was also damaged. This loss is not small. Sadako took a deep look at Lee Zinyu. Now he was lying on the ground weakly because he consumed too much blood. A curse mark fell on Lee Zinyu's back. Sadako ignored this person whose combat power was no longer 5 and turned her head to look at Yamagachi next to her. Seeing that this so-called exorcist had failed, Yamagachi's parents hurriedly protected their children. Sadako just waved her hand, and the two of them were like being hit by an invisible force, and flew to the side. When the pale hand was about to touch Yamagachi's face, a flying sword rushed out of the thick fog, forcing Sadako to retract her hand. Lee Zinyu saw the sword, and knew that reinforcement were coming, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Sadako turned her head, and looked in the direction where the flying sword came from. Today's events were ruined again and again, and her patience had reached its limit. With a sharp whistle, the mist almost materialized, and the thick water vapor made it difficult to breathe. Monster, I don't know how many people you have harmed over the years. Today I will enforce justice on behalf of heaven. A figure in a yellow Taoist robe appeared in front of everyone in the room, and with a wave of his hand, the copper coin sword returned to his hand. Sadako couldn't speak, so she could only express her anger with a sharp whistle. The Taoist in yellow felt the changes in the surrounding water vapor and snorted coldly, "Do you think you can weaken my power by using this reverse water essence? Too naive. Our Taoist magic is specifically designed to restrain you monsters." Then he chopped with a sword, and the copper coin fell on Sadako's clothes, making a hissing sound. This feeling is like putting a piece of red hot iron on raw meat. Sadako was not to be outdone, and she spit on the Taoist's face with her backhand. The middle-aged Taoist priest had been on guard against her hands and missed, but he didn't expect that Sadako's attack method was to spit. He was not careful, and was smeared with a mouthful of dark blue liquid. He quickly stepped back, took out a talisman, and stuck it on his face to burn the filth. Sadako refused to miss this opportunity, and rushed forward to start scratching wildly with her nails. Chapter 180 Strong Foreign Aid. Facing the claws, the Taoist priest was not in a hurry. He held the copper coin sword in front of him. A golden light flashed, and a small bag with formation was formed in front of him. Sadako's claws landed on the formation, protecting it without moving. Then the Taoist priest wiped his hand on the sword, and the copper coin sword emitted a dim red light, slashing Sadako's abdomen, piercing her to the ground, unable to move. This ghost is really difficult to deal with. Seeing that he finally subdued Sadako, the Taoist priest finally relaxed, and cast his eyes on the people on the ground. "Are you all okay?" The Yamagachi family quickly stood up, and thanked the middle-aged Taoist priest. "Nothing. Exorcising demons and defending the way is what we should do." The middle-aged Taoist priest bowed modestly and said, then cast his eyes on Lee Zinyu, who was still lying on the ground. "It's my child who made you laugh. Not only did he not do anything, but he almost lost his life." Yamagachi's mother looked at Lee Zinyu on the ground, went over to help him up, and said with a smile, "No way, your child is also very capable. If it weren't for him, we might have died at the hands of this monster." The father and son were very pleased with the compliment and smiled happily. Then, the Taoist priest turned his eyes to Sadako, who was still struggling on the ground. "Now I will kill this monster." The two of them witnessed the whole process outside, and breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that they didn't need to take action tonight. Just when Yu and Dazi wanted to put away the crystal ball and go back to sleep, Zyadishan suddenly stretched out his hand to stop him. "Wait a minute, I just seem to feel a very evil soul flashing around here. Let's go back later. I don't know if there will be any unexpected situation." Yu and Dazi hesitated for a moment, chose to believe his feelings, and did not put away the crystal ball, but continued to monitor. The middle-aged Taoist priest approached Sadako, and took out a golden talisman, which was much better than the one in Lee Zinyu's hand. He held the talisman between his index and middle fingers and shouted, "Linbing Daoji's Hens Heikian." The talisman was activated by spiritual power, and golden flames rose on the talisman paper. "Let me end your pain." After saying that, the middle-aged Taoist priest was about to throw the talisman away. Just when Sadako was already in despair, a blood-red hand pierced from the Taoist priest's back and penetrated all the way to his chest. "What?" There was an unbelievable look in the Taoist priest's eyes, and the talisman paper in his hand stopped burning because of the lack of spiritual power. Dad. Lee Zinayu, who was on the floor, felt very distressed when he saw his father being hurt like this by others. But now he didn't even have the strength to stand up and could only cry on the ground. A cold female voice appeared in everyone's ears. Haven't you been looking for me all the time? You came all the way to Japan for this. Now, I'm behind you. Come and kill me. After saying that, she pulled her hand back. At this time, the figure of the female ghost appeared in front of everyone, a red dress fluttering in the mist. The Taoist priest fell down, covering his chest. Although there was no wound on the outside, he knew that, if no one treated him, he would not live long. Then, the resentful mother looked at Sadako, who was nailed to the ground by the copper coin sword. With a wave of her hand, the red ribbon knocked the copper coin sword down, and Sadako regained her freedom. The resentful mother invited Sadako, let's join forces to slaughter this place, and use their flesh and souls to heal their injuries. Sadako still didn't speak, but proved her willingness with her actions. The two of them turned their heads together, and looked at the people in the living room. Just as they were about to take action, the resentful mother's face suddenly changed. Oh no, someone is breaking into the ghost domain. Sadako's hair also fluttered, and she formed a few words. Who is it? The resentful mother. I'm so sorry, I'm from China. I can't read Japanese. I can only speak a little. Everyone. The resentful mother suddenly felt their power, and her expression became extremely angry. Damn it, it's those two guys. No, we have to leave quickly. After that, the resentful mother was ready to leave. Sadako wanted to ask something else, but when she saw that the resentful mother didn't seem to be joking, she quickly prepared to escape with her. At this moment, the resentful mother suddenly pushed Sadako away, and a piece of wood flew between them. Really, it took a lot of effort to combine the ghost domains of these two ghosts. At this time, Yu and Dazi was standing at the entrance of the hole that had just been broken, looking at the two ghosts in the room. The resentful mother was in a very unstable mood. You are here to ruin my good thing again. Yu and Dazi spread his hands helplessly. I can't help it. I didn't intend to come to you now. Who told you to be with Sadako? Yamagachi in the room saw them and shouted in surprise. Yu and classmate? Why are you here? Lee Zenai's condition was not much better. He looked at them with a look that said I knew what it would be like. Yu and Dazi did not answer their questions, but turned to Zyadishin and said, Sadako is in your hands. Let me deal with the resentful mother. Zyadishin walked in with a cloak on and nodded at him. I will complete the task. The resentful mother saw that the two people did not take them seriously at all and became even more angry. Don't look down on ghosts. Today I will make you my fertilizer. Yu and Dazi glanced at her calmly. Planter? Do you think you are still a little girl, or the flower of your ancestors? You have been a yellow-faced old woman for a long time, and you are still pretending to be young here. The resentful mother felt that, if she didn't do something, she would explode. The red ribbon on her body gradually solidified, and turned into a sharp sword pointing at Yu and Dazi. I will use your head as my wine glass. After saying that, she ignored her ladylike demeanor and rushed towards him with the sword in hand. Yu and Dazi took out his staff and prepared to meet the enemy. Zyadishin dodged to the side and looked at the things around him. They were basically all made of wood, and there was nothing that could be used to disassemble and reassemble into weapons. Suddenly he saw the copper coins scattered on the ground. His eyes lit up, and his mental power rolled up the copper coins and combined them into a sharp blade in the air. Lee Zenai and his son on the floor. My family heirloom sword. The copper coin sword collided with Sadako's hand, but it did not have the restraining effect as before. Now the copper coin sword has become a very ordinary blade. The first is that Zyadishin destroyed the array pattern on it when reassembling it, and the spiritual energy inside the copper coin sword has dissipated a lot. The second is that Zyadishin himself did not practice their skills, so there was no effect. Yu and Dazi kept throwing fireballs. With his current magic power, the second level fireball was like free. The resentful mother did not dodge at all. With her anger and resentment, she rushed to Yu and Dazi, using her magic to split him one by one. I wonder what use you have as a mage. He looked at the sharp blade that was so close to him and calmly clamped her blade with the gap at the top of the wood spirit staff. Who told you that I can't fight in close combat just because I'm a mage? Chapter 181. Try sitting on it. Before destroying the ghost domain created by the two of them, Yu and Dazi had already cast the 3rd level giant force spell on himself. From just now to now, his spell has not been released, which means that Yu and Dazi's power is still increasing tenfold. Let me tell you, what I'm best at is physical salvation. After saying that, he punched the resentful mother in the face. Just now, because she wanted to cut Yu and Dazi into 7 pieces, she had been maintaining the materialized state. After this punch, she felt as if she was hit by a car, and the head of the ghost body exploded. Everyone on the ground. Li Mingyu, middle-aged Taoist, I have lived for so long, and this is the first time I have seen a ghost exorcist like this. If it was an ordinary person, then it would be a fatal injury. But for a ghost, the explosion of the head will not hurt the origin. The soul power was agitated, and a new head appeared on her head, and at the same time the whole body was ethereal to prevent Yu and Dazi's physical salvation. At this time, Sadako was also in a bad mood. Although Xiaoshan did not use the 7 swords of the Demon King, the Kangyu sword technique was not an ordinary one. The blade left wounds on her body one after another. Seeing this, the resentful mother thought to herself, I don't know what other tricks that magician has, but there must be one that can target the soul. No, we can't do this anymore. If we continue like this, we will all die here. In just a few seconds, the resentful mother made up her mind to sacrifice some of her strength to cover their escape. Sadako, see you in Hokkaido. Hearing this, Yu and Dazi frowned, knowing that she wanted to escape. However, he had no intention of letting these 2 ghosts go. If he let her run away again, things would become very troublesome later. Magic Spirit Breaker. Yu and Dazi's magic power and mental power combined to form a cone that pierced into the body of the resentful mother in the air. Ah, a sound comparable to nails scratching a blackboard sounded, and Dazi and Xiaoshan were both stunned for a moment and wanted to cover their ears. After reacting, the ghost mother's body exploded and turned into countless blood-red baby ghosts. Looking at these children, his anger could not stop burning. Is this the real reason why she is called the resentful mother? How did so many resentful babies accumulate? Xiaoshan, protect them. Only 7 seconds. When people on the ground saw the babies flying in the sky, a chill rushed into their minds. This time, the resentful babies were in a violent state. If they were possessed by these resentful babies, the difficulty of their treatment would increase significantly. The resentful babies of the resentful mother kept flying, trying to find them as new hosts, so that they could be reborn before they had time to experience life. But Xiaoshan's mental barrier blocked them tightly. How could a dead person do such a thing that hurt the world? With the fierce attack of the resentful babies, Xiaoshan's mental power began to gradually fail, and blood slowly flowed out of his nose. Damn, only the last 3 seconds. Only 2 seconds left. Babies are the purest, so the resentment they turn into is also the most ferocious. They hate all life. Why are they alive, but they are dead? They are unwilling, and anyone who prevents them from returning to the world should die. In fact, the mother of the resentment was unwilling to use this trick. The existence of the infant resentment was her life and the source of her strength. This time, 60% of the infant resentment was left to hold these people back, and her strength was lost by more than half. Just when Xiaoshan's mental barrier had cracked, Yu and Dazi shouted, "Everyone bow your head." Xiaoshan quickly removed the barrier, and then a magic power targeting the soul swept out. Spiritual storm. The infant resentment in the sky was attracted by his mental storm and began to spin uncontrollably in the air, constantly making miserable cries. In the end, these souls were cut into pieces by storms comparable to blades, which ended this miserable life. Finally solved. Yinkei, are you okay? Yu and Dazi breathed a sigh of relief. The voice just now was too disgusting. Chumushin also smiled happily. I'm fine, but my mental power is a little damaged. After saying that, he wiped the blood off his face. Yu and Dazi looked at the direction they were running away, and said with some disappointment, even if they were allowed to run away, it would be difficult to catch them all next time. What a pity. At this time, Yamagachi's mother began to thank them. As for Yamagachi and his father, they went to help Lee Mingayu and Lee Zinayu up. Lee Zinayu ran to his father, carefully checked his father's injuries, and asked in Chio, "Dad, can you still move? You are unable to treat me now. I won't live much longer. Let's go back to Chio quickly. We are no longer needed here." He also answered in Chio. He probably didn't want them to know that he was dying and didn't want to make these people feel guilty. It is normal for people in their line of work to accidentally die at the hands of ghosts. There is no need to make others sad. Zyadishin and the others had no idea what the father and son were talking about, but looking at Lee Zinayu's appearance, it should not be a good thing. Yu and Dazi walked over to them and told them in Chio language, "I can try to help you check your injuries." Lee Zinayu, who was standing next to him, immediately grabbed his legs, as if he had grabbed a life-saving straw. "Really? Then you should help him treat it quickly. My father can't delay any longer. Let go, you naughty child." Yu and Dazi kicked his legs and said, "I can't check his injuries at all if you hold him like this." Seeing that Yu and Dazi agreed, he came down. He squatted down and used magic to check his body and found that his ki had dissipated and his vitality also dissipated along with it. At this rate of dissipation, he would not live until dawn today. In the end, Yu and Dazi gave his conclusion. "I can only hold you from dying, but I can't do anything about your cultivation." Lee Mingayu nodded to show that he understood. According to their point of view, the claw just now broke his key valve and damaged his life palace, and it was good enough that he was still alive. As for what kind of cultivation, it really didn't matter. Yu and Dazi took out his wooden staff again and began to chant a spell. After more than 10 seconds, the magic stone on the wooden staff emitted a green light, level 3 magic, rejuvenation. The light gradually fell on him, slowly repairing his life palace and replenishing his lost vitality. A few minutes later, Lee Mingayu was back to normal. "Thank you so much, fellow Taoist." He bowed to him. Lee Zinayu next to him also imitated the adult's words. "Thank you for saving us. If you have anything in the future, I will never refuse, as long as you ask." Yu and Dazi looked at him and remembered the misunderstanding caused by him and suddenly felt unhappy. So he put a hand on Lee Zinayu's shoulder. "Are you serious?" He nodded without hesitation. A pot of cactus floated over and landed on the ground. Yu and Dazi pointed at it and said, "Sit on it and show me." Everyone. Zyadishin hurried over and pulled him aside. "Stop it, Dazi-kun." Then he turned his head and looked at everyone and said, "I hope you will keep today's events a secret and don't tell anyone about our affairs." Everyone else said that they knew the rule and agreed one after another. Chapter 182, Unqualified Mood. The next day they came to school with dark circles under their eyes. They both consumed a lot of energy last night and didn't get much sleep, so they looked half dead now. But what they didn't expect was that someone was in worse condition than us. That person was Lee Zinayu, a classmate from Chio. Last night, he and his father walked all the way back to his rental house and didn't go to bed until after 2 o'clock. And he consumed too much energy and blood, basically a useless person. Today is Friday, and school is over in the afternoon. And as he looked at Zyadishin next to him, "Yinkei, do you have any plans for the next 2 days?" He said while thinking, "Well, I don't have any plans yet. Why don't I go back and do my homework first, and then go out and take a look?" And as he also agreed with him. Anyway, for them, homework can be finished in 10 minutes at most, so they really need to plan whether to play or stay at home for the remaining 2 days. When they got home, they both took out their homework books at the same time. And as he looked at him, "Is it still the same old rules?" Zyadishin nodded, "Of course." Then, 1, 2, 3, start. Then they started writing with their own abilities. Ever since and Dazi led him astray last time, he found that doing homework this way not only saves time, but also does not lose the meaning of the homework itself. So he has been doing homework this way. When they have nothing to do, the two of them will compete like this to see who can write faster, and the loser will wash the dishes at night. Of course, basically no one wins every time. Because according to their abilities, the current homework can basically be calculated at a glance, and it is not challenging at all. In the open space, Fat Tiger, Nobita, Action and Hero were chatting together. At this time, Sunia came over with the dog. "Hey, everyone, what are you talking about?" Seeing that he had come, Fat Tiger said, "Zaofu, you came just in time. We were talking about tomorrow's baseball practice. You must come then. If you are absent, I will make you suffer." Zaofu didn't care at all after hearing this. "Since you said so, I won't come either." "What did you say?" Fat Tiger immediately ran over and tried to grab him by the collar. But next to him, the dog that Zaofu was holding, which was as tall as Fat Tiger, suddenly stood up, bared its teeth at Fat Tiger, and snored to warn him. Where had Fat Tiger seen such a big dog? He was so scared that he dared not move. The others were not much better, and they quickly stepped back. Seeing that they dared not even breathe, Zaofu laughed triumphantly. "Hehe, how is it? This is the dog we specially asked my father to buy for me." At that time, it was elected as the dog king in the competition. Then he walked to the side of these people and said, "I tell you, in the future, when you see the dog king, you must kneel down and respectfully say, 'Lord Dog King, may you be safe,' understand?" Fat Tiger was about to refute, but the dog was like a human being, showing its teeth, as if it would bite people at any time. Seeing this, he had no choice but to give in. "I know, I will obey." Zaofu walked to the cement pipe, where Fat Tiger usually sat, crossed his legs. "Now why don't you kneel down to the Dog King?" The 4 people below saw this situation, and they wanted to beat Zaofu up. But the big dog next to them was so intimidating that they had to give up this plan. In the end, everyone knelt down in humiliation and said, "Lord Dog King, may you be safe." At this time, Dazi and Zaofu finished their homework and came to the open space. Zaofu immediately said to them, "You two come here and kneel down like them." Gian and Dazi looked at the pet that was bigger than a human in the open space, and his heart trembled. Zaofu also took 2 steps back at this time. This is not a problem of strength. This is the instinctive fear of giant creatures that people have had for a long time. Zaofu was even more proud when he saw them doing the same. Just when they were stunned, an angry voice appeared in their ears. "You two idiots. You are afraid of even a dog that has not practiced. Do you still live up to your reputation as practitioners?" They all recognized the owner of the voice, Soul Devouring Monument, Senior. Then his voice appeared again. "I was sleeping soundly, and suddenly I felt that you had this kind of fear, so I hurried out to see. And you told me that you are really afraid of this dog. The descendant of the Demon King would be afraid of this dog. You are really embarrassing us. Just find a wall to bang your head against and die." Seeing you and Dazi being scolded by the soul-devouring monument, Chumushin smiled and gloated on the side. As a result, the soul-devouring monument immediately turned its spearhead towards him. "You also have the nerve to laugh? People who cultivate spiritual power are most afraid of emotional instability. You and he are both idiots at the same level. How can you laugh?" Finally, the soul-devouring monument made a summary of this lecture. "Your state of mind is too bad, and it doesn't live up to your strength at all. Next time you call me out for such a boring thing, don't say that I guided you to enter the sect. I can't afford to lose face. I'm going to sleep." The 2 of them were embarrassed by this scolding. Although they wanted to refute, what he said was all true. As the descendant of the former Demon King, it is really unreasonable to be afraid of a dog. Chumushin was better, but Dazi looked at Zaofu and his dog, and his eyes gradually began to be unfriendly. Zaofu saw that they were slow to go over, and began to urge them. "I'm talking to you. Why don't you come over and kneel down to greet him?" Gian and Dazi walked over and stood under the cement pipe to face him. Gian and Dazi ignored his dog, which surprised Zaofu, and a bad feeling spread in his heart. "I had to use words to give myself confidence. What are you doing? If you don't kneel down, it might bite you." Dazi ignored the dog with bared teeth and pulled Zaofu off the cement pipe. "Who asked you to come to my open space? Don't you know that rent is collected here? From now on, it's 1 yuan per second." Zaofu didn't say anything in the back. This time Zaofu actually asked others to kneel down to the dog, which really made him very unhappy. Let you and Dazi teach him a lesson, which is also a good choice. After Zaofu sat up, he pointed his finger at me. "Dog King, bite him." Daisy didn't move this time, letting the dog bite him, and then fell to the ground with a dying expression. In the distance, the camera that Yu and Daisy had just taken with his mental power recorded this scene. Ziofu commanded his dog to bite people. Nobita and the others ran out and started to ask for help everywhere. Help. Ziofu's dog bit someone. Someone is going to die. Zayashin quickly stopped them because he knew very well that Yu and Daisy was not injured. After getting what he wanted, Yu and Daisy freed his hands to pry open the dog king's mouth. The dog's bite force was very strong, but his trained body was no pushover. The ferocious teeth only left a few bite marks on his skin without breaking it. As he increased the strength of his hands, the dog king's mouth gradually expanded. Looking at the gradually expanding mouth, Yu and Daisy gritted his teeth and said, "You dead dog, your bite is really painful. I will make sure you can never bite anyone again." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183, The Coveted Person. As he said this, Yu and Daisy used his hand to exert force again. Now the dog's mouth was so big that even it couldn't do it. In short, he was going to use his brute force to dislocate its jaw. Stop it. This dog is very expensive. Seeing that his dog was about to be broken, Ziofu hurried forward to try to stop Yu and Daisy. But Fat Tiger finally came back and picked up Ziofu with one hand. "You made us kneel down just now. It was fun, right?" The others also surrounded Ziofu while Yu and Daisy was cleaning up the dog, ready to let him reflect on his mistakes. Catcher. He finally dislocated its jaw and let go of his hand with satisfaction. Ziofu looked at the people around him and the dog king lying on the ground drooling, revealing a desperate expression. 10 minutes later, Ziofu finally realized his mistake with the help of Nobita, Fat Tiger and the other four, and knelt on the ground crying. The others finally dispersed and prepared to let him go, and Daisy walked up and placed the photos that Zayashin had developed with his own ability in front of him. "Ziofu, you dare to let the dog hurt people? What if your parents find out?" He looked at the photo of himself commanding the dog king to bite people just now and remembered that he was beaten like this just now. He cried sadly on the ground at that time. Seeing that Ziofu had received enough lessons, everyone was finally relieved. However, after what happened just now, no one was in the mood to play anymore. After saying goodbye to each other, they went home. Daisy and Zayashin walked side by side. He looked at the torn clothes on Yu and Daisy. "Are you okay? Seeing how badly you were bitten, I thought you were really injured." "I'm fine, but it's a pity for this clothes." He touched the clothes with some regret. It has been with him for so long. It's a pity to tear it like this. Zayashin didn't care about this matter. "Leave it to me. I can sew clothes." Fat Tiger has returned home. Looking at the cool brother who is sleeping in his nest at home, and thinking of the dog king who just showed his might in front of him, he felt unhappy. "No, I also want to train cool brother and make him as mighty and majestic as the dog king." So he stomped his feet, picked up a stick, and stood in front of cool brother. "Wake up, lazy dog. We will start special training from today." After Nobita returned home, he also pestered Doraemon. "Doraemon, I want a pet too." The blue fat man pushed him away with an impatient look. "Really, isn't it me? What? It's not enough for you to have me. Do you want another cat?" Nobita looked at Doraemon. "No, your fighting power is too low. You can't even beat Fat Tiger." "What? You said my fighting power is low?" The blue fat man jumped up angrily. "I tell you, I'm a future robot with 129 horsepower. You actually said I can't beat a child?" Nobita looked unconvinced. "You have such a big horsepower, you can't even beat me?" Doraemon's voice became much lower. "That's because I'm not in the future, and it's inconvenient to replenish the power, so I've always been in power saving mode. And if I usually drive at maximum horsepower, it's easy to hurt people when I'm with you." "Doraemon." Nobita looked into his eyes filled with tears. "Nobita." The blue fat man also looked at him with affection. "I still want a mighty and majestic pet. Get lost." In the afternoon, when Nobita and Doraemon were playing in the room, a guest suddenly came outside. Hello, what can I do for you? The mother was asking the stranger standing outside. Hello, madam, this is my business card. The middle-aged man handed a card to Nobita's mother and said, I have something to discuss with you. Is it convenient for you now? Nobita Mako took his business card, which read, Hangjiang Machinery Co. Limited. Although she didn't know what he was doing, she didn't look like a liar, so she nodded. No problem, please come with me to talk in the living room. After bringing the guest to the living room, the mother shouted upstairs, Nobita, Doraemon, come and make a cup of tea for the guest. After getting a response from the two people above, the mother sat opposite the guest. Excuse me, why do you, a busy man like you, come to our place? The middle-aged man smiled and did not rush to tell his purpose. Instead, he began to introduce his company. Our company is an advanced mechanization company and has been committed to leading advanced technology. Before this, we tried to make a brand new model of aircraft. While speaking, Nobita and Doraemon made a cup of green tea, put some snacks on it, and walked to the guests. After that, we now have our eyes on robots. Then, the middle-aged man pointed at Doraemon and said, we see unlimited possibilities in this robot in your home, and we have been observing it for a long time. So I came here this time to buy this robot. Before he finished speaking, Nobita jumped up and retorted, absolutely not. He is my best friend, and must not be sold. When his mother saw Nobita losing his composure, she quickly stopped him. Nobita, be polite in front of guests. Then she turned to the guest and said, I'm sorry to make you laugh. Our children are not well educated. The guest waved his hands. It doesn't matter, I don't care about these. Then he adjusted his tie and took out 5 stacks of 10,000 yuan bills from his pocket. I'm willing to pay 5 million for this. Please consider it. 5 million? Nobita and Doraemon were very surprised to hear the number and looked at their mother worriedly. Nobita's mother seemed to be a little tempted, but she made up her mind after a few seconds. No, Doraemon is a part of our family, and we can't sell it. The middle-aged man did not give up easily, but continued, if that's the case, I'm willing to pay more money. How about 10 million? But Nobita Tamako rarely changes her mind, and stood up to see the guest off. Please go back. We will never sell it even for 100 million yen. Our family is not something that can be measured by money. Mom. Doraemon looked at his mother, tears welling up in his eyes. The guest did not stay, and stood up, and adjusted his tie again. In that case, I will go back first. But we will not give up easily. I believe you will change your mind one day. Then he left with his suitcase. Doraemon threw himself into his mother's arms, hugged his mother, and was unwilling to separate. Nobita sent the guest out with an angry face and slammed the door hard. The middle-aged man outside still didn't care. He took out his mobile phone and said, they don't want to trade directly. You go there to prepare a second plan. At Demishan's house, Zyadishan took needle and thread to mend Yu and Daz's clothes that were bitten by a dog. At this moment, Yu and Daz felt a palpitation, as if he was going to lose something important. Seeing that his expression was a little abnormal, Zyadishan stopped what he was doing. What's wrong? You look a little sad. Daz nodded. Yes, I just felt like I was going to lose something very important, and I felt a little palpitation. I don't know what will happen next. Chapter 184 Farewell. Yu and Daz sat in his seat. He believed in his intuition very much, so he was very worried about this matter. Don't be too nervous. These feelings have no scientific basis, so don't take them to heart. Zyadishan shook his head. He never believed in such prophecies. After all, in his worldview, these things were all superstition. Because he had just entered the dark world not long ago, his worldview had not changed yet. This was his subconscious reaction. Yu and Daz looked into his eyes. Do you think that I, a magician, have a scientific basis? Zyadishan said that he didn't want to talk to him, and silently picked up the clothes in his hand, and continued to sew. Yu and Daz looked at the sky in the distance, and there was a shadow in his heart that couldn't be shaken off. Soon after, Zyadishan handed the clothes to Yu and Daz. Look at how I sewed it. He took the clothes, and the holes on it turned into several red 5-pointed stars, which looked pretty good with the white background. In this regard, he would certainly not be stingy with his praise. You are really clever and skillful. Zyashin touched his head, a little embarrassed. That's great. I was worried that you didn't like it. He washed the clothes with the cleaning technique, folded them with his mental power, and put them in the closet. Then yawned as he took out the crystal ball between his eyebrows. I'm still worried, so it's better to come and take a look. Zyashin also came over. Mr. Dazki, what do you want? Do you still remember how I found the monster in the underground cave in the underground kingdom? Zyashin thought about it, and his amazing memory provided him with the answer. You said you met the future, right? And as he nodded, that's right. It's just that last time it was related to my life, so I saw it passively. And this time, I want to take the initiative to peek into our future. This crystal ball itself has a certain ability to peek into the future. If you use it to predict, you may know some fragments. After speaking, and as he used his mental power to activate the patterns on his talisman, and at the same time, connected his mind to the crystal ball. Countless stars suddenly appeared in the ball, and then began to rotate, condense, and finally formed a picture. How is it possible? Doraemon was dismantled. And as he looked at the Doraemon in the crystal ball that was dismantled into parts, and couldn't believe it for a long time. Zyashin also began to take it seriously. Although he and Nobita still didn't talk much, they were still friends of life and death, and he regarded them as his friends in his heart. How could he watch Doraemon being dismantled? He looked at Dazzy anxiously. Can't you look more carefully? And Dazzy shook his head. Using this ability to observe the same thing in a short period of time will cause the power of time to backfire. What should we do? We don't know anything. How can we stop this? Seeing him so anxious, I comforted him. It's okay. We already know the result. So we just need to intensify the surveillance recently. Don't worry, the two of us can rescue them, even if they are sent to the Prime Minister's house. After a pause, he continued, and don't forget that Doraemon is very strong. He is not so easy to deal with when he has props. Zyashin relaxed. That's right, I should believe that he will not be dismantled so easily. After all, he comes from the future. After making the decision, he put away the crystal ball. This time, because of the improvement in strength and the help of the crystal ball, there was no serious backlash. In the evening, after dinner, they started their own practice. Dazzy still went up to practice his Demon King 7 swords, and Zyashin also stepped up to practice his control ability. Now Zyashin's spiritual power is about 2/3 higher than his, and this growth rate is also very fast. And as he waved his dark blade and muttered in his heart, among the 7 swords, I have already mastered the skills of explosion, shining sky, and full moon, but I have no idea about stars, shadows, god slashing, and burial. It's a pity that the soul-devouring monument is unwilling to pass it on to Zyashin. Otherwise, with his talent, he would definitely do better than me. Secretly jealous of him, he continued to practice sword on the top of the cloud. The next day, 2 guests came to their house. So, why are you two here? And as he put 2 cups of tea on the table, and looked at the father and son of the Lee family, Lee Mingai who happily put down the teacup in his hand and said, because my cultivation has dissipated, I need to go back to the Heavenly Kingdom, to rest for a few years. I wanted to take Xiaoyu back with me, but he said he wanted to live here for a while, and said he wanted to avenge me. You see? No. Zyashin directly rejected his request. We don't have any adults in our family, and life is already difficult enough. If we have another child, we will be very sad. And as he also nodded and said, yes, we don't have time to take care of him normally, and it's already difficult for him to live on his own. No, you misunderstood. Lee Mingai waved his hands repeatedly. I don't want him to live here. I just want you to help him to the best of your ability. Then, his tone gradually became sad. To be honest, I often go out for months at a time because of exorcism. He could have taken care of himself a long time ago. It's just that I'm worried that he will be confused in Japan, a place where he is unfamiliar with. So I want you to help me watch him when you are free, and don't starve to death on the streets. The two of them began to communicate with their mental power, and finally came to the conclusion, okay, we can take care of him first. But there is no guarantee that he won't die at the hands of monster. Great, Xiao, bring your homework here. I'm finally free. Ahahaha. After saying that, Leeming Guy ran out of their room. My flight is at 11 o'clock this morning. I'm leaving right away. The two of them. Dare you be irresponsible? Give me back those few seconds of touching. Lee Zinayu sat in front of them with his homework. Then I'll leave the homework to you, brother. For the rest of the morning, they were all solving this week's math problems for Lee Zinayu. In the afternoon, they finally relaxed, discussed with each other, and decided to go out for a walk. At this time, Fat Tiger was looking at his dog and said angrily, "You are so useless. Why do we keep you in our family? Really, I'm going to give you away." After saying that, he untied the reins on Cool Brother's neck and took him to the street, ready to find a suitable owner. Chapter 185 Cool Brother and Fat Tiger. After several fruitless visits, Fat Tiger finally found a box and stuffed Cool Guy in it. "You dog, just wait here for your next owner." After saying that, he sealed the cardboard box, threw it in the open space and left. Dazi and Zyashin first sent Lee Zinayu back to his own residence, which was a residential building similar to Thiz. "Thank you for tutoring me. See you next week." Lee Zinayu took out 2 cans of drinks from the refrigerator and handed them to them as a farewell. "Well, see you next week." They took the drinks and left his house. "How are you going to spend this afternoon? Do you still want to stay at home and read books?" "Let me think. There are some new magazines in the library recently. Let's go and take a look together." Yeah, and as he sighed helplessly, "What's the difference between you and reading books at home?" But there was nothing else to do, so he agreed to him. "Okay, I'll go and see if there's anything interesting." Nobita and Doraemon came to the open space and suddenly saw a box on the open space, so they walked over to take a look. Doraemon, who threw this away? Doraemon shook his head. "I don't know. Why don't we open it and take a look?" After the two discussed, Nobita opened the box with force, and a big brown dog immediately jumped on Nobita, wagging its tail and licking Nobita's face with its tongue. "Ha ha ha, stop it." Nobita couldn't stop feeling itchy and quickly pushed Cool away from him. Doraemon recognized the dog. "What's going on? Isn't this Cool from Fat Tiger's family? Why was he thrown away?" Looking at Cool rolling around and acting cute in front of him, Nobita felt a little sorry and said to the blue fat man, "Let's go ask Fat Tiger together to see why he threw Cool away." The two led Cool all the way to the Gota store. Fat Tiger saw Nobita and Doraemon coming with their dog and opened the door. "Why are you here?" Nobita pointed at the dog next to him and said to Fat Tiger, "This is your dog. How did it get thrown into the open space?" Fat Tiger turned his head away, not wanting to see the face of Cool Guy. "Need I say more? Of course I threw it away. Why do I keep this useless dog?" When Cool Guy heard this, he immediately lowered his head. Nobita was very unhappy. "But this is your dog. It has lived with you for so many years. Don't you have any feelings for it?" "Huh, so what? Anyway, I have thrown it away now. If you pick it up, you must be responsible for it. Don't throw it away." After saying that, he didn't give Nobita and the others a chance to refute and immediately closed his door. How abominable. Nobita stomped his feet and then cast his eyes on Doraemon. The blue fat man immediately said, "That won't do. Our mother doesn't allow us to keep dogs." Nobita also knew this and said helplessly, "Then we have to find someone to send him away." Doraemon also nodded. "Yes, that's the only way." The two of them took Cool Brother away from this place. They were powerless to do anything about it. When Fat Tiger saw them leave, he felt empty in his heart. After losing Cool Brother, he always felt that a part of his life was missing. After thinking for a long time, Fat Tiger decided to go to the back mountain to relax, so he went out. Just when they walked to the river, Doraemon suddenly thought, "By the way, Fat Tiger said that Cool Brother was thrown away because he was useless. So we just need to make Fat Tiger think that Cool Brother is useful." Nobita also slapped his head. "Why didn't I think of it? Doraemon, you are so smart. But what should we do?" The blue fat man put his hand into his pocket and began to take out treasures. "Just use this obedient hat." Then he took out 2 hats, one with a hand on the top and the other with an antenna on the top. Doraemon put the hat with hands on his head and began to explain the use of this hat. "Just wear this command hat and then put another hat on other people or animals. That's it." While talking, Doraemon put the hat with diamond antenna on Cool Guy's head. After completing the preparation steps, he decided to start testing the effect of the hat. Okay, now stand up. Hearing this, Cool Guy stood up on his feet without any resistance. Very good. Now turn around. Cool Guy was also very cooperative, even without the antenna forcing him. Doraemon was a little surprised. Why did Fat Tiger say that Cool Guy was useless? Now he looks obedient and not stupid. Cool Guy looked as if it was a matter of course. Of course, I'm not a stupid dog. If I can do it, of course I will do it. Nobita began to think, if you are not stupid, why did Fat Tiger throw you away? How can you speak? He was slow-witted and immediately noticed this unusual point, and his hair exploded in fear. Doraemon explained to Nobita, as long as you wear this hat, the master and servant can talk to each other to facilitate communication. Then he turned his head to Cool Guy, so why were you thrown away? Cool Guy raised his front paws and said helplessly, there's nothing I can do. I can do everything you said. But Fat Tiger made me learn to meow and belly dance. Do you think this is something a dog should do? It's unforgivable that you threw away your own watchdog because of something like this. As a pet cat, Doraemon is extremely resistant to being thrown away. Who said it wasn't? Cool Brother ran to the railing by the river and placed his front paws on it. He was obviously very nice back then, playing with me and taking me out for walks, but he has changed in the past few years. He is not likable at all. He often bullies kids, and he is not nice to me. Then Cool Brother wiped his tears with his paws. But I still love him very much. Why can't he get better? Nobita was also infected by the sad atmosphere. No, I must find Fat Tiger and give him a good scolding. Doraemon also agreed. When we find him, I will use these fighting gloves and this lipstick to teach him a lesson. The two immediately returned to Fat Tiger's home with full fighting spirit, but were told by Fat Tiger's mother, what a coincidence, he just went out, you go find him outside. Doraemon, what should we do now? Doraemon thought for a moment and said, let's act separately and talk about it after we find him. Nobita nodded and took the hat away, to be on the safe side. I'll take this for self-defense. Doraemon wanted to warn him, but then he thought that it would be good to teach Fat Tiger, who didn't value his family, a lesson. Speaking of this, Doraemon remembered that man wanted to buy him. When my mother said that I was a family member, I felt that my world was brightened. In comparison, Fat Tiger deserved a good lesson. Chapter 186 Hungry Lion. Doraemon continued to search the streets and other places with endless anger, while Nobita took his hat and began to search for the places where Fat Tiger usually went. Just as he passed the empty lot, a lion looked up at him. Nobita was a little disappointed. What? It's a lion, not Fat Tiger. Lion? Nobita immediately jumped up and shouted, and then used all his strength from practicing running for more than 4 years to escape from the empty lot. Ha hoo hoo hoo. Nobita held the electric pole next to him and panted heavily. Why is there a lion in the empty lot? Did I see it wrong? As he spoke, he decided to go back to the empty lot to find out. A few minutes later, Nobita's figure appeared in the empty lot again. Looking at the empty place in front of him, he touched his head. What? I saw it wrong just now. He walked behind the cement pipe on the empty lot to check this last visual blind spot. At this moment, Nobita saw a ball of golden hair, and his heart tightened immediately. The lion also noticed Nobita's smell, and sat up, and looked at him. After staring at each other for a second, Nobita ran away quickly. Help! There really is a lion. The lion was unwilling to let go of the delicious food in his mouth, and quickly jumped onto the cement pipe, and jumped down to pounce on Nobita. Nobita's speed could not be compared with the serious lion, and he was thrown to the ground in an instant. Just as Nobita landed, the two hats in his hands also slipped out of his hands. The hat with the antenna fell on the lion's head, and the command hat just fell on Nobita's head. Help! Don't eat me! Nobita struggled frantically on the ground. The lion immediately let go of his claws. Okay, then I won't eat you. He stood up in some doubt. What's going on? This lion actually let him go and speak human language? Wait, speak human language? Nobita immediately looked up at the lion's head and found that the obedient hat in his hand was really put on it. That's great. Nobita immediately got carried away. At this moment, Sunia and Shizuka came over and Nobita began to make a plan. Hey, Sunia, Shizuka, let me show you a show. The two of them stopped and looked at Nobita. What show can you show us? Nobita pointed to the lion next to him and said, I'll let it perform a firing now. He found a wooden ring from the pile of debris next to him and came back here, holding the ring up. Come on, lion, get through here. The lion received the order and got through the ring in Nobita's hand without saying a word. Wow, so amazing. Tsuneo and Shizuka next to him immediately applauded. Nobita was even more proud and stood on the cement pipe. This time it's more difficult. Let's do it again. Although Nobita's ring was about 1 meter high, when he stood on the cement pipe, this height was nothing to the lion, and he jumped over it easily. Okay, the next show is to fight with the lion. Seeing that Tsuneo and Shizuka below were in high spirits, Nobita immediately increased the viewing experience. At the same time, he whispered to the lion, you must lose to me on purpose. After hearing this, the lion said with a helpless but doting look, okay, since you said so. The man and the beast rolled on the open ground, and the lion deliberately put away his claws and rolled on the ground in cooperation. Shizuka immediately applauded and shouted, wow, it's amazing, you dare to fight with a lion. Nobita worked harder after hearing this. At this moment, the hat on Nobita's head and the hat on the lion's head fell off. At this time, Nobita was in the lion's arms, looking into its eyes. Ah, help. When the others saw the lion out of control, they all ran away in a hurry, and Nobita quickly picked up the two hats and put them on his head. I finally saved my life. Wait. At this time, Nobita saw the hat on the lion's head, which turned out to be a command hat. Oh no. I accidentally put the hat on the wrong way. He quickly reached out to take off the hat. At this moment, the lion suddenly said, don't take off your hat. The antenna on the top of his head emitted a faint light, and Nobita's hand was forced to stop in the air, and then under the control of the hat, he had to say, yes. The lion nodded with satisfaction. Not bad. Take me to your house now. Nobita immediately turned around and walked towards his home. He had bad luck along the way and didn't meet anyone else. When he got home, his mother was just at the door. Nobita immediately seemed to have seen a savior and wanted to ask his mother for help. At this time, the lion behind him spoke again. Don't talk nonsense. Nobita had to shut his mouth. Unfortunately, his mother took off her glasses and didn't see the lion clearly. She just thought it was Nobita's friend. Is this Nobita's friend? The hair on his body is really lush. His mother just said casually and then left. Nobita felt desperate at this time and blamed his mother in his heart. Why did she fail when it came to his life? The lion knew that his biggest trouble was over, so he ordered Nobita again. Take me to your room now and don't play any tricks. The two came to Nobita's room and the lion pointed to his stomach and said, I'm very hungry now. Go find me some food. Nobita had to agree for the sake of his own life. Okay, I'll find you some food right away. So Nobita went to the kitchen and put all the ham, ribs and other food in the refrigerator into a plate. At this time, Nobita's mother finally put on her glasses. Seeing Nobita holding these foods, she felt very strange. Nobita, what are you doing with these foods? Nobita was very angry when he thought of what his mother had just done and shouted at her. Really, which is more important, these hams or my life? Then Nobita ran away from his mother, leaving Nobita's mother alone and confused. What's wrong with this child? She touched her head, and it was a little difficult to understand Nobita's change. Nobita had returned to the room and handed the food on the plates to the lion. The guy picked up the ham in a humane way, and while biting the meat, he asked Nobita, you shouldn't be too talkative when you take things, right? Nobita shook his head repeatedly. I definitely didn't. The lion then stuffed the remaining meat into his mouth with confidence. In a few minutes, all the food was eaten. The lion picked his teeth with his nails and said very dissatisfiedly, really, it's just such a small thing, and I'm even hungrier after eating it. Then the lion looked at Nobita, who was kneeling on the ground. The color of his skin looked very fresh and plump and began to slowly arouse the lion's appetite. Feeling that the lion's eyes were a little unfriendly, Nobita immediately wanted to escape. But at this time, the lion said, go take a bath first, and then bring back butter and salt. Don't try to escape. Nobita resisted with difficulty, but he still couldn't violate the power of the hat, so he had to go down to take a bath. After a while, Nobita returned to the room with salt and butter. The lion ordered again. Okay, now you take off your clothes and then apply salt and butter all over your body. The look in the lion's eyes when he looked at him had gradually become dangerous. Chapter 187 I Say You Are You. Feeling the lion's unfriendly gaze, Nobita immediately wanted to escape. But at this time, the lion said, go take a bath first, and then bring back the butter and salt. Don't try to escape. Nobita had no choice but to go down and take a bath. After a while, Nobita returned to the room with salt and butter. The lion ordered again. Okay, now take off your coat and then apply salt and butter all over your body. Nobita stood up obediently, took off his coat, and then took the butter and salt and began to rub it on his body. Seeing that he was so careless, the lion was a little impatient. Apply it carefully and apply it evenly to every part. Nobita reluctantly agreed, yes. Then he carefully applied every inch of his skin evenly. Soon, Nobita's skin was covered with yellow, making him feel very uncomfortable. Master, I've applied it. Nobita's heart began to beat wildly, and he knew that his final moment was coming. The lion nodded in satisfaction. Very good, then I will start. You must stand still and don't resist. Then he put his front paws on Nobita's shoulders and opened his mouth to bite. Just when his mouth was about to bite Nobita's body, the lion suddenly stopped. Really, how could I forget to add ketchup? It's such an important matter. It looked at Nobita and continued, go get some ketchup now. Remember, don't eat too much. Really, this lion's taste is quite picky, and he won't let people die happily. Nobita had to go downstairs to find ketchup. While looking for ketchup in the kitchen, he muttered, hey, we don't have ketchup at home anymore. I'll go ask my mother. At this time, my mother was reading a book in the guest room. Nobita hid his body behind the wall, leaving only his head exposed. Mom, do we still have ketchup at home? Dakshin's mother didn't even turn her head. Ketchup? What a coincidence. I ran out of it when I was cooking yesterday. Dakshin felt a little happy in his heart. In this way, the lion would not eat him, right? So he hurriedly went up to tell the lion with this good news. The lion was very dissatisfied after hearing it. Really, why is there no ketchup at this time? Go out and buy it for me. Dakshin's fantasy was shattered, and he had to put on his clothes and go out to buy ketchup. At this time, Dakshin also borrowed a lot of good books to read at home. Gian and as he also borrowed some books and started walking home. When they passed a grocery store, I smelled a very strong smell of butter, which made Gian and Dashi very uncomfortable. He pinched his nose and complained, what's going on? There are no pizza shops nearby. How can there be such a strong smell of butter? Dakshin's sense of smell is not as sensitive as Dashi, but he can still smell the smell of butter in the air. It must be someone who ate the butter, he answered a little uncertainly. Just as they were passing the grocery store, Dakshin came out with a bag of ketchup. Gian and Dashi immediately recognized that the smell of butter came from him, so he pinched his nose and walked over to ask him, why do you smell butter? Is there a big meal? If there is a big meal, why don't we add 2 people tonight? Nobita immediately nodded, as if he saw a savior. Yes, we really have a big meal at home. You can come too. As he spoke, Nobita's tears flowed down, and he finally saw his savior. The two of them were watching from behind, confused. If you don't want to, you can just say it directly. Anyway, Gian and Dashi was just joking. If you cry and ask them to go, those who don't know will think they are forcing you. So they followed Nobita all the way back home. When they were only 1 or 2 minutes away from home, Fat Tiger suddenly came over. Nobita, what are you doing? Your hat is nice. Why don't you let me wear it? Gian and as he stepped forward to show his presence. Your clothes are nice. Why don't you lend them to me for a few days? Seeing that this evil star was there, he immediately waved his hand and stepped back a few steps. No, I just happened to pass by. Then Fat Tiger looked at Nobita again. Hey, how is cool brother now? Nobita thought for a while and said, I don't know. He should be with Doraemon now. Maybe he has come back? Okay, I'll go over there with you to take a look. Just like that, they walked to Nobita's house together. After changing his shoes, Nobita returned to his room with ketchup. They didn't understand Nobita's behavior, but they still followed him to his room. As soon as they opened the door, they saw a lion lying on the ground lazily basking in the sun. Gian and as he looked at it and said, "Hey, Nobita, when did you buy such a big doll?" At this moment, the lion suddenly stood up. "Was it that bastard who said that I was a stuffed toy? I will bite you to death." Then he saw a few children at the door. "Oh, I didn't expect you to bring more food back. That's great. To reward you, I will eat you last." Then he pounced on Fat Tiger. "You look the most delicious. Let's start with you." When Dazzy saw that it was a real lion, he remembered the things on the grassland before, which was really unforgettable. In addition, they were scolded so badly by the dead old man yesterday afternoon, and they reflected deeply. When facing these things, you must believe in your own abilities and never let your instincts go. Controlling your body's instincts is a step from the weak to the strong. He stepped forward, without using any magic bonus, just relying on his own strength to clamp its neck and lift it up. "Are you not happy when I say you are a stuffed toy?" Then he threw the lion hard on the tatami. Seeing that it still wanted to resist, Yu and Dazhi punched it in the face. After beating it into a pig head, he said to Chumushan behind him, "Do you want to try it too?" He waved his hands repeatedly. "Forget it, I don't like it." But Fat Tiger was very interested. "I want to try it. This guy just wanted to eat me. I must make him pay." After that, he sat on the lion's face, and there is no need to go into details about the 7 punches and 13 kicks that followed. After almost beating it, Yu and Dazhi lifted its hair and brought its face in front of him. "How about it, little brother? Now you say you are a stuffed toy." The lion was beaten into a useless lion by Yu and Dazhi, and nodded repeatedly. "Yes, I'm a stuffed toy. Please be magnanimous and let me go." He nodded with satisfaction. "That's right, how could I lie? I said you are a stuffed toy. Wouldn't it be better if you admitted it earlier? You have to let me explain it to you." Then he turned around and said to others, "Why are you still standing there? Call the police." The others woke up, as if from a dream, ran downstairs and started to make phone calls, and Nobita also asked Fat Tiger to take off his hat. The police came here soon and took the lion, whose face was swollen, away. At the same time, the prisoner was also brought in, a painter wearing a hat. At this time, he had not yet realized his mistake. "You mean this lion? I originally raised it. Now it has grown too big, so I have to throw it away. Do you want it? If you do, I'll give it to you." Everyone present was speechless. "You are really careless." The police immediately handcuffed him. "You better come to the police station with me." Then they pulled him into the police car. Chapter 188 Skiing. Really? You can meet any kind of people nowadays. Zyadishan was still indignant after returning home. "There are people who secretly raise lions and throw them everywhere." Dazzy patted his shoulder. "Forget it. Artists are a group of people we can't understand. Otherwise why is it called art? Let's hurry up and cook." While talking, he picked up the pot to prepare cooking and asked Zyadishan to handle the fish. That's how they dealt with the dinner. After dinner, Yu and Dazzy felt his magic power and nodded with satisfaction. "At this speed, I can carve the 3rd talisman tonight. Because I have to carve the talisman tonight, I can't go to Yunding to practice swordsmanship." So Yu and Dazzy sat cross-legged on the roof and began to extract magic power. A few hours later, he began to copy the first 2 talismans in his sea of consciousness, carved the 3rd talisman, and then engraved the rules for it. The whole process was smooth and there was no pause. When the new talisman formed an energy resonance with the first 2 talismans, his promotion was completed. The power of heaven and earth came as promised, strengthening his body and soul to a small extent. That night, several people quietly ran to the open space, brought some wooden boards and nails, and started construction on the open space. The whole process lasted for several hours, and then a small house appeared at the back of the open space. The next morning, something happened that Yu and Dazzy did not expect. That is, it snowed last night. Zyadishan looked at the snow pile on the ground and said, "It looks like it snowed a lot. This thickness is enough for us to make snowmen and ski." "Sorry, I forgot for a moment." He just remembered that Yu and Dazzy became like this because of skiing. He himself didn't care much, but he had to play the role of Yu and Dazzy well. Therefore, Yu and Dazzy could only pretend to care a little and said, "It's okay, it's been so long." He didn't want to stay on this topic for more. "So what should we do this morning?" The two thought about it and said, "It's so cold, let's stay at home." Xiaoshan thought that Yu and Dazi didn't want to go out on a snowy day, so he didn't refute his opinion and found a book to read. Dazi also went downstairs to watch TV. In the afternoon, Xiaofu and Fat Tiger appeared in front of their door in new clothes. Chumushan, Yuan, let's go skiing together. At this time, Dazi was reading a book with Xiaoshan upstairs. Hearing what they said, he actually wanted to go. But Xiaoshan considered Yuan and Dazi and decided to help him refuse. "I will go down and tell them not to invite us again in the future." Yuan and Dazi directly use the levitation technique to throw his ski suit into his hand. "You can go by yourself, don't worry about me." After hesitating for a few seconds, Xiaoshan still took the suit and went out. After going out, he explained to Fat Tiger and the others, "Because Dazi hates skiing, we can go by ourselves." The three of them came to the open space, where a small slope had been made with snow for everyone to ski. In addition to them, there were many children here. Fat Tiger pointed at the snow slope and said proudly, "How about it? I'm awesome. It took us a whole morning to make it." Xiaoshan applauded their hard work. "You guys have worked so hard. Thank you for your contribution to everyone." Others also praised Fat Tiger. Fat Tiger now felt like he was about to fly to the sky, blushing and said, "It's nothing. This is not just my credit." Sunia also made a lot of efforts at that time. In such a peaceful atmosphere, the skiing began. Xiaoshan looked around, but found that one person was missing. So he found Shizuka, who was closest to him, and asked, "Shizuka, why didn't Nobita come? Did no one invite you?" Shizuka shook her head. "No, Fat Tiger and Sunia went to find Nobita just now. But Nobita said he was not feeling well, so he didn't come." Xiaoshan nodded, having guessed the reason why Nobita didn't come. At this time, Nobita was crying to Doraemon in the room. "Doraemon, I want to go skiing too." The blue fat man patted his shoulder and gently comforted him. "It's okay. If you can't learn, you can practice slowly." Nobita shook his head. "No, I don't want to." "Doraemon, quickly take out the props that can let me ski now." The blue fat man covered his head helplessly and said, "I really can't do anything about you." Then Doraemon took out a knob-like thing from his pocket. "This thing is called the Earth Exit Machine. Just turn this knob and you can get off the Earth." Nobita said that he didn't understand at all. He had to explain in more detail. "It's like this. Do you know the bus?" Nobita nodded. The blue fat man continued to explain, "The Earth is actually a huge bus. A long time ago, someone said that if you sit on the ground, you can travel 80,000 miles a day. If we break away from the Earth, we can fly 80,000 miles a day." Nobita didn't quite understand how to use this prop. "Then how can it help me ski?" "This is very simple." Doraemon gently twisted the Earth's disembarkation machine, and then he began to slide slowly on the floor. "Just twist this knob, and you can gradually break away from the Earth. The twisting angle determines your speed of separation, so it looks like you are skiing." Then the blue fat man thought for a while, and then continued, "But you should also pay attention, because the direction of the Earth's rotation is fixed, so the direction you move forward can only be fixed, which is also a disadvantage of this machine." Nobita didn't care about what Doraemon said at all, just picked up his ski suit. "Then let's set off now and go skiing." In Xiaoshan's room, Yu and Dazi was holding his crystal ball and looking at the scene in the open space. "Oh, I really envy them. They can ski without restraint. I still have to maintain my persona, really." Just as he sighed, he suddenly thought, "Why can't I ski quietly on the top of the cloud? Anyway, no one knows." He immediately took out his ski suit and flew into the sky. At an altitude of 10,000 meters above the ground, the cold current continued to invade his thin body, although his body could already ignore the changes in the weather. And as he picked up his wooden spirit staff, cold current, a ray of icy power filled the surface of the entire cloud. And as he began to slowly control the intensity of the cold current, allowing them to condense into snowflakes instead of ice. Then he used storm magic to prevent the clouds from falling due to changes in volume and weight. Then, he injected some magic power into the wooden spirit staff to let it maintain the storm magic in the sky. He put on his skis and goggles. "Well, let's get started." Chapter 189, Rubbing on the Snow. Below, Doraemon brought Nobita to the open space. Fat Tiger and Sunia immediately started to mock. "Nobita, have you learned to ski?" Nobita answered them with his head held high. "I have always been able to do such a simple thing." Just when Nobita started to brag, Doraemon picked up the disc and looked at it and said to Nobita in a panic, "No, Nobita, because of the geographical location here, you can only ski from the bottom to the top." Nobita was shocked at first. Wouldn't his plan be messed up? However, another plan suddenly came up. So he said more arrogantly, "That's because you guys don't understand it at all. I don't bother to do ordinary skiing." Then he reached his hand into his pocket and slightly twisted the earth dismounting machine. Then he picked up the ski poles, pretended to be skiing, and slid from the bottom to the top platform. "What?" The people next to him said that they were stunned. "Is there such a thing?" Nobita returned to the bottom with a relaxed look on his face and said to everyone, "Well, I said I don't like ordinary skiing. Now I want to do it again." Just when Nobita was showing off in front of everyone, Doraemon said helplessly, "Really, why is he so smart at this time? I really hope that his intelligence can be used in learning." Then Doraemon suddenly heard a meow and turned his head quickly. On the house, a pure white kitten with a bow was looking at Doraemon. It turned out to be Xiaomi. "I'm so sorry, I'll be there right away." First comforted his girlfriend, and then he said to Nobita, "Nobita, I have something to leave first. You be careful by yourself, don't play too much." In fact, he didn't plan to care about Nobita. This prop shouldn't be able to play any tricks, so he was more at ease. So he put on the bamboo dragonfly and went to the house for a date. Time flies, and more than an hour has passed unknowingly. Gian and Azzy has had enough of skiing. It turns out skiing isn't that difficult. Putting away his staff and shoes, Yuan and Azzy teleported back home. He used the crystal ball to observe the open space. Zio-chan was now making a snowman with everyone. He nodded with satisfaction. It seems that they are having a lot of fun. That's all. He put the ski suit back to its original position and sat down to read a book. Nobita had almost finished playing, so he put away the Earth exit machine. "Well, if you mortals work hard, maybe one day you can learn it. I'll leave first today." Fat Tiger and the others looked at Nobita's back and said, "I didn't expect that Nobita's skiing skills are so amazing." Sunia also nodded. "Yeah, it's really hard to lose to him like this." On the way back, Nobita suddenly felt that it was too tiring to walk back like this, so he turned on the Earth exit machine again. While gliding on the street, Nobita thought happily, "This is much more convenient. Doraemon should have given me this prop earlier." Well, there is a turn ahead. I have to turn off the Earth disembarkation machine. He reached his hand into his pocket and tried to turn the knob, but after turning it several times, he found that his speed did not change at all. Not good. Nobita immediately reacted, "Because I turned it too many times this afternoon, the knob is loose." He quickly grabbed the nearby electric pole to stop himself temporarily. "No, I have to take it out quickly." Nobita reached out again and pulled the prop hard. "Damn, the lid seems to be stuck in my pants. I have to use force." Nobita pulled hard on his pants for a long time, and finally, Nobita pulled out the knob shell of the Earth disembarkation machine. "I'm done." This was Nobita's last thought before he started to speed. The force between Nobita and the Earth began to decrease, and then he began to slide on the ground at a high speed. Yuan as he was reading in the room when he heard Nobita scream. He immediately became interested and stuck his head out of the window. "Hey, let me see what made Nobita scream so miserably." He opened the window and saw Nobita flying past their door at a speed of 30 meters per second. And this speed is not the limit, it is still increasing rapidly. He saw Yuan as he opening the window, thinking that this guy's strength has always been a mystery, and hurriedly asked him for help. "Classmate Yuan, save me." Yuan as he saw that he would not stop until he flew to a foreign country, so he could only roll up his sleeves. "There is no way, I still can't stand idly by." With a flick of his hand, the golden cloak turned into a rope in his hand. Then he jumped down from the second floor. "Don't be afraid, second brother, I'm here to save you." He threw his rope in the air and tried to tie up Nobita. Of course, he did not pin his hopes on the accuracy of his throw, but waited for the Dawn Goddess's embrace of self-consciousness to actively tie him up. A magical device with spirit can do this easily. The embrace of the Goddess of Dawn adjusted its position in the air and was accurately placed on Nobita. At the same time, Yu and Dazi felt a huge force coming from the rope, which was the reaction force that stopped Nobita forcibly. Damn, how did Nobita do it? Dazi tried his best to hold Nobita, but still couldn't stop Nobita from moving forward. But it's not that he didn't give it enough strength, it's that the snow below was too slippery, not enough for Yu and Dazi to stand, so he slid along. He tried to pull Nobita with more strength, but because there was no fulcrum, all failed. In the end, he said helplessly, in the current situation, neither the strange power spell nor the wind spell is enough for me to force Nobita to stop us too. In this way, Yu and Dazi could only pull Nobita together and rub on this smooth street. On the way, Yu and Dazi shouted out his doubts. Nobita, what's going on? Nobita said while gliding, because I accidentally broke Doraemon's props, so now I can't stop. The force transmitted from the rope became stronger, and their speed gradually approached an uncontrollable state. Seeing that he was not getting the point, Dazi quickly reminded him, so you should tell me the function of that machine, so that I can give you a countermeasure. Nobita then told him the function of the Earth's exit machine. I know, if your Earth's exit machine can't be taken out, just need a stone under Yu and Dazi's feet suddenly tripped him. If it was normal, this would certainly be no problem. But at this moment of high-speed navigation, a little resistance can break the fragile balance. The resistance from his feet made him fall to the ground, and he couldn't say the words he had prepared. Woo woo woo. The snow on the ground kept pouring into his mouth. Now Yu and Dazi had no way to express his thoughts. And now he has gradually left the city and entered the mountains and forests. Damn it, you force me to do it. Yu and Dazi, who was irritated by this machine, said he couldn't stand it anymore. My current maximum speed is about 30 meters per second, plus the 5-fold increase of the second level wind spell. It is 150 meters per second. Now Nobita's speed is about 110 meters per second. According to the simple pursuit problem, plus his acceleration in the distance of 30 meters, I can probably catch up with him in 1 second. Find his acceleration A. Then he quickly shook his head. Now is not the time to do math problems. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Test. Without time to think, Yu and Dazi let go of his hand, and then immediately cast a second level spell, stood up and started sprinting with all his strength. 4 seconds later, Yu and Dazi appeared beside Nobita. Hahoo. Damn, I forgot that I need time to accelerate myself. Nobita saw Dazi actually running to his side, and his brain began to freeze. You can actually run so fast? Yu and classmate, are you still a person? Dazi said he was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, and went straight to the point. Hurry up, take off your pants. After saying that, Nobita's speed has exceeded his limit. Now Yu and Dazi can only follow him from a distance, and eat the snow dust he left behind. When Nobita heard what he said, he finally got it, and quickly took off his pants. As soon as he took them off, his pants flew off the ground like an airplane acceleration engine. Nobita also gradually slowed down, because he lost the Earth's exit machine. Help, I'm going to be rubbed to death. Because there was no Earth's exit machine, the friction on the ground once again acted on Nobita. The speed of more than 100 meters per second, if no protection is taken, can grind a person into slag. Dazi finally rushed behind him and picked him up, allowing him to successfully avoid the first torture in history. Then, Yu and Dazi began to slowly slow down his speed, and finally stopped after a few minutes. Putting Nobita on the ground, Dazi also felt very tired. Nobita saw that he was finally safe, and hurriedly thanked him as his savior. Thank you so much today, Yu and classmate. Yu and Dazi waved his hand, indicating that he didn't want to talk to him now. The full speed running just now was also a great burden on his own body. At this time, Nobita suddenly asked him, Gian classmate, how did you run as fast as me? And as he suddenly became alert, I'm so sorry, I almost forgot to erase this part of your memory. Then he easily erased Nobita's memory of Dazi running to catch up with him. Unknowingly, he has become an old hand in this regard. Now Dazi is no longer the rookie he was before, and he still needs the soul-devouring monument to brainwash him. After forgetting this part of his memory, Nobita began to worry about another question. So, classmate, how should we go back? He calculated the distance and thought he had run dozens of miles just now. And as he could teleport back, but Nobita was determined to stay here. In addition, he was only wearing shorts now. If he walked all the way back, Dazi had already imagined the scene of him walking dozens of miles back home like this. At this moment, a voice came from afar. Hey, Nobita, Gian, are you alright? The person who came was Doraemon. He had just heard that a boy was gliding on the street at an incredible speed, and he was carrying another boy behind him, so he had guessed what happened. Without thinking too much, Doraemon quickly flew over with the bamboo dragonfly. Seeing Nobita like this, Doraemon couldn't help but laugh. Haha. I wonder if you dare to show off my props in the future. Seeing Doraemon coming, Dazi finally let go of his worries. He said weakly, don't say anything, just take us back quickly. Dazi nodded. It's getting late now. I still have to go back to prepare dinner. The blue fat man stopped laughing. Well, we ran so far. Just use the anywhere door to go back. Then, Doraemon took out a pink door from his pocket. And as he opened the door, and the scenery outside was the entrance of their house. Then we'll see you tomorrow. Dazi waved goodbye to them, and walked into the anywhere door. Doraemon also adjusted the coordinates, and sent them directly back to Nobita's house. At this time, the mother saw Nobita coming back wearing only a pair of shorts, and asked loudly, Nobita, where are your pants? Nobita thought for a while and said, I don't know, maybe they are on the sea now? As for Doraemon, he was laughing secretly beside him. Seeing this, the mother became even more angry. Children who lie are the most annoying. Find them for me. After returning home, Zyadishan was already cooking dinner. Seeing Dazi coming back, she asked, where did you go just now? I thought you would stay at home. And as he thought for a while, roughly summarized what happened just now, and said, I just went to save a boy who was about to fly out of Japan. Demishan looked back at Dazi, and was stunned for a long time. He had never understood what Dazi had just said. Seeing that he looked confused, Dazi smiled, and told him what happened this afternoon. Zyadishan was a little unhappy after hearing this. You should be more careful. What if you get hurt? It's okay. I'm not safe back here. Dazi didn't want to dwell on this topic any longer, so he changed the subject. What are we having for dinner tonight? Zyadishan showed the beef in the pot. Tonight is steak. How about it? Are you looking forward to it? Dazi nodded, tied an apron, and joined the busy kitchen. In the evening, Zyadishan suddenly called him over. Dazi, how about coming up and helping me? And Dazi turned off the TV and went upstairs. At this time, Zyadishan was looking at him with two metal swords. Seeing Mushin's strange shape, and Dazi couldn't help but feel confused. What's the matter? Are you going to learn Miyamoto Musashi? Let me make it clear first, I don't have any two-sword swordsmanship here. It's not what you think. He seriously denied Dazi's idea, and then said, I want you to try which of the two swords is harder. Oh, why do you suddenly want to destroy things? I remember that you cherish these things the most. These two swords were reconstructed by me with my own mental power, so they are not something worth cherishing. After he finished speaking, he paused, and then said, now I want to know which of these sequences is better. Then I can use them directly in battle. I didn't expect you to have studied it to this point. And Dazi took the two swords and asked him, so how do you want to test them? Break them directly? Mushin nodded. This is just part of the test. In addition to hardness, there is also the degree of wear and tear from swinging, the ductility of the sword body, and so on. I should trouble you for a while tonight. No problem. As he spoke, and Dazi cast a second level strange power spell on himself, and broke the two swords with force. After carefully feeling the power he had spent, Dazi raised his left hand and said, this one is harder. Tonight, He helped Dekisugi test dozens of metal, glass, stone and other swords, which made him exhausted. Dekisugi happily recorded the data of each sword and summarized the hardness relationship of the atomic sequence. Seeing that he was so happy, and Dazi did not disturb him and went downstairs to watch TV. Chapter 191 New News. 17 days had passed in the blink of an eye, and it was February 6th. After they returned home on Wednesday afternoon, they were still discussing what happened in the physical education class. Nobita didn't even jump over the 3-story vault. Does he really have no talent at all? And Dazi was still unwilling to let go of his scandal this afternoon. In the afternoon vault, everyone could basically jump over 6 floors, and a few people with better physical fitness could jump over 9 floors. As for Dazi, Kozan, Shizuka and Tsuneyoshi Yuma, in order to compete for the first place, the number of floors reached 18. In the end, without using superpowers, and Dazi won the first row of the superpower group. Shizuka and Tsuneyoshi Yuma lost at the 15th floor, while Kozan's physical fitness was poor and could only jump over the 12th floor. When the 3 of them jumped over the 15th floor to challenge the 18th floor, the teachers and classmates were stunned. That's almost as good as 2 teachers. Dekisugi thought about it carefully and said, I think it has something to do with Nobita's lack of exercise. He stays at home all the time and doesn't do much exercise. While chatting, the 2 took out their homework books and prepared to start doing their homework. At this moment, the landline in Nobita's room suddenly rang. And Dazi saw that he was taking something, so he walked over and answered it. Hello, this is Dekisugi's house. Who are you looking for? Hello, I'm Kodama Yoshio. The first sentence made him frown. This guy called me, probably about those guys. Today we received a message from a ghost saying that they are waiting for your visit in a villa in Hokkaido. How did they convey the message to you? A female ghost occupied the body of one of my men and conveyed it in person. He paused after he finished speaking and continued with lingering fear. If it weren't for the amulet you gave me, I might not have survived this afternoon. And as he thought for a while, then asked, besides this, have they demonstrated any other abilities? The other party thought for a while before answering. I remember that she waved her hand casually, and my men became confused. Their eyes began to turn red, and they became like wild beasts, biting everywhere. After pondering for a while, and as he lowered his voice and said, I know. What's the detailed address? Kodama Yoshio reported an address in Hokkaido, and as he wrote it down. Okay, if there's nothing else, hang up first. I'm not so free here. After hanging up the phone, Zayadishin asked Dazi who called. It's about Kodama Yoshio. There has been some progress in the investigation recently. He also became serious. Have you found their hiding place? And Dazi concealed the truth. No, I just have a clue. After they confirm it, they will call me again. Zayadishin did not doubt what he said. He turned around and started doing his homework. Dazi also returned to his seat and wrote with him. It's not that I don't want to take him this time, but that the ghost mother should have the ability to pollute the soul. Dekishan's path of cultivation is pure soul. If he directly confronts her, he is likely to suffer. And the soul is polluted, which is not good for his future path. But Sadako should have joined forces with the resentful mother. Although my strength has increased a lot now, if I want to deal with the 2 of them alone, plus the traps they set, it seems that there is a possibility of death. After thinking for a few minutes, and Dazi made up his mind to find reinforcement. Let me see, Lisa Nayu, the weakling, should be able to be brought along. But his combat power is only 5, so he won't be of much use. Then and Dazi thought about the possibility of Tsuneyoshi Yuma again, but rejected it again. After all, this matter had nothing to do with her, and it was impossible for her to come and participate in such a deadly activity for no reason. Moreover, the pure physical attack of the puppet would not cause much damage to ghosts. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind. I got it. Call Shizuka. That guy is very sensitive to negative emotions. If I call him, I believe he will not refuse this good opportunity. As for Nobita and Doraemon, and Dazi did not consider it at all. If he called them over, they would be possessed by ghosts in a few minutes. It would be better for him to go alone than to have 2 more burdens. In this way, Yu and Dazi gathered the three Daredevil trio. Before this matter was completed, everyone had to keep it secret from Zayashi. If Izuki knew that they were going to find these two ghosts, Yu and Dazi believed that with his personality, he would follow them no matter what. Although it was somewhat inhumane to do so, for the sake of his future, everyone had to keep this secret from him. The next day during class, Yu and Dazi used his mental power to find Shizuka. I should have a place where negative emotions gather here. Are you interested? As he expected, Shizuka would not miss this great opportunity to improve his strength, and hurriedly asked Yu and Dazi for details. Really? Tell me where it is, I'll be there right away. Those little hooligans are really boring, and the negative energy provided by one person is too limited. Seeing that he took the bait, Yu and Dazi began to throw bait to him. It's quite far away, in Hokkaido. There are ghosts there that can pollute people's souls and stimulate primitive animality. Are you interested? Shizuka did not hesitate at all. Of course I'm interested. Primitive animality represents the purest desire and is my perfect tonic. Yu and Dazi showed a well-planned smile and then explained to him the danger of this matter based on the rule that he still had a conscience. But I also said that there are ghosts there, so I will go there to fight. If you want to go, you have to fight side by side with me and face danger together. Can you do it? This matter must be made clear to him, otherwise he will have a grudge because of this matter, which will affect the team's cooperation. After hearing this, Shizuka began to remain silent. After a few minutes, Shizuka made up his mind. No problem, fortune and honor are sought in danger. In addition to you, will Dekisugi go too? Yu and Dazi shook his head and denied this. He will not go this time. Because monsters can pollute the soul, I excluded him from this operation. Then, in order to reassure him, Yu and Dazi added, but this time there is another helper. He is the exorcist from the Celestial Empire, Zenyu. Although his combat power is only 5, it is okay to use him to make up the number. Shizuka thought for a while, because Dekisugi didn't come, and finally made a decision. I'll join. What time and where will we meet? Dazi finally let go of his worries and explained to him, I still have to discuss it with him. I'll tell you in the afternoon. Shizuka nodded and didn't say anything else. Yu and Dazi began to use his mental power to quietly contact Zenyu, who was nearby, and told him about his plan for tomorrow night. Chapter 192, Gate of Glory. Yu and Dazi's spiritual power came to him. Zenyu, we are going to find the resentful mother and Sadako tomorrow night. Do you want to join? His reaction was as expected, and he agreed immediately. Of course, they almost killed my father, but I stayed here for revenge. That's good. Gather here at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Do you have any problem? Zenyu did not hesitate at all. Of course no problem. Anyway, I have nothing to do. I have been practicing spiritual power. Now I can set off at any time. After notifying Shizuka of the gathering time, Yu and Dazi also began to continue practicing magic power. Tonight, we should be able to speed up the 4th seal, so that tomorrow's action will be more secure. In the afternoon physical education class, the teacher still asked them to practice vaulting. But now he didn't let the 4 of them go, because he was particularly worried that these children would accidentally fall on the wooden floor. What if they fell and became stupid? What they didn't expect was that Nobita actually jumped over a 5-story vaulting horse at once. Everyone was surprised, and then Yu and Dazi's first reaction was to start searching for any Doraemon props on Nobita. But after searching Nobita's whole body, Yu and Dazi was surprised to find that he had no props to help him this time. He really jumped over with his own ability. Thinking of this, Yu and Dazi couldn't help but applaud his progress, and other students present also sent him their blessings. It can be imagined how much effort he has put in to make such a big progress in just one day. Nobita returned to his position amid our applause. This time he didn't feel uncomfortable at all, because this was the applause he earned with his own efforts, and he deserved it. Sunir and Fat Tiger came to his side. Nobita, we really didn't expect you to be able to jump over 5 floors. How did you do it? Nobita immediately sold Doraemon. That's Doraemon's props. Of course, I jumped over it with my own strength. The two hurriedly asked, what props can allow you to jump over it with your strength? It's the Gate of Glory. As long as you walk into that door, you can receive professional training. I can jump over 5 floors, only after undergoing hard training. Nobita touched his head and said proudly. Yu and Dazi thought of his swordsmanship, so he walked over and said, Nobita, can you lend us this prop of yours? Fat Tiger and Sunia also asked quickly, yes, we want to use this, too. No problem, come to my house after school. I believe Doraemon will not refuse your request. After getting Nobita's assurance, they returned to their positions to continue practicing. After school, Dazi and Zyashin separated first. He also had to give extra lessons to elementary school students today, and Yu and Dazi was also going to Nobita's house. Fat Tiger and Sunia also came to Nobita's house with him. Yu and Dazi didn't know what Sunia wanted to do with that thing, but Fat Tiger could probably guess. He probably wanted to practice singing in it, so that he could have a concert. He wanted to have a concert this year, but Yu and Dazi convinced people with reason, physics, and cancelled it. When he arrived at Nobita's house, Doraemon was arranging props in the room. Seeing so many classmates coming, Doraemon quickly put the props in his pocket. He was worried that his props would be forcibly taken away by Fat Tiger. You are back, what's the matter? Nobita stood up to explain to them. It's like this, they heard that I used the Gate of Glory to skip 5 floors, so they all want to try it. Hearing that it was this prop, Doraemon was relieved. Of course it's no problem, who goes first? Then, Doraemon took out a door that looked like it was made of gold. Fat Tiger immediately stood in front. I'll go first, I want to practice until I can defeat Yu and classmate. After saying that, Fat Tiger ran into the door. Hearing this idea, Yu and Dazi's first reaction was disdain. This guy actually wants to defeat him and force a concert? You are worse than that, Fat Tiger. Then he suddenly became a little worried. What if he can't get out? Just when Yu and Dazi was worried that Fat Tiger's life would be explained in there, Fat Tiger suddenly came out. But this time he didn't walk out, but was kicked out by someone. Get lost. I can't even beat him. You still want to make me hate you? A little man clapped his hands in the door and closed the Gate of Glory. Fat Tiger got up from the ground and grabbed Doraemon's collar. Your junk props, can't you be more reliable? Nobita laughed at the side. I think it's quite reliable. If you can't beat it, just say it directly. It's very honest. Doraemon also pushed Fat Tiger away and said with a wry smile, that's right, you should change your wish. That is easier to realize. Fat Tiger wanted to beat them up to relieve his anger in front of so many people, but thinking that Yu and Dazi happened to be here, he had to give up his plan and choose to change a wish again. Fat Tiger cleared his throat and spoke again. In this case, then I will make my singing more euphemistic and moving. The Gate of Glory opened again, and a white holy light shone on him. Facing the light, Fat Tiger once again walked into the Gate of Glory. The people outside immediately became nervous. What should we do? If Fat Tiger comes out and holds another concert, won't we suffer again? Yu and Dazi thought for a moment and said, if he sings well, after he comes out, then it's okay to hold a concert. Everyone understood what he meant. If the singing is still as bad as before, then this guy won't let him hold it. But after a few seconds, Fat Tiger was kicked out of the Gate of Glory again, and there was also a villain cursing in the back. I have been in the industry for decades, and I have never heard such a bad song as yours. Get out, and never come back. Then the white-haired villain closed the Gate of Glory again. Everyone looked at Fat Tiger on the ground, and couldn't help wanting to laugh out loud. But in order to save his face, they all injured it very hard. Damn guy, what is the Gate of Glory? But it's useless. Fat Tiger stood up, patted the dust off himself, and left cursing. After Fat Tiger left, they finally laughed wildly in the room. Haha, Fat Tiger finally got a lesson. I really hope he won't sing for the rest of his life. Among them, Xiaofu, who usually flatters Fat Tiger, laughed the most wildly. Okay, then I'll try the effect of the Gate of Glory first. Yu and Dazi walked to the door and expressed his thoughts. I want to take my swordsmanship to the next level. The Gate of Glory slowly opened, and a magnificent song appeared in everyone's ears. Dazi walked slowly into the door to the rhythm of the song. Inside, an old man in a kendo uniform was waiting for Yu and Dazi. I heard your request and came to help you. Now please take this bamboo sword and compete with me in swordsmanship. Yu and Dazi took the bamboo sword he handed to him, a little dissatisfied. Because in Japan, the names of swords and knives are similar. Although dissatisfied, he could still make do with it. He used the bamboo sword to make a swordsmanship starter to confront him, and the old man also used his own swordsmanship to prepare to meet the enemy. Dang. Their swords collided in the air. Although they were bamboo swords, they made a sound of metal clashing. Then, the two men changed their swords in the air and attacked each other again. Chapter 193 Departure. After the two sides exchanged dozens of moves, Yu and Dazi was somewhat happy. This guy is still quite capable. Then, he used the first move of the 7 swords, explosion. The blade suddenly became faster, even faster than the speed of airflow. The old man's expression changed drastically, and he quickly held the sword to block his killing move. But then the compressed power on the blade gushed out, and an invisible blade wind hit his body. The blade wind left a hideous wound on his body, revealing the internal mechanical structure. The old man stopped pestering, slowly put away the sword, knelt on one knee and said, "I lost. You have far exceeded the limit of my training." Yu and Dazi also put away the bamboo sword and said to him, "It doesn't matter, anyway. I just want the difference in the speed of time here." The old man suddenly became excited. "Even a master like you have to continue training?" Yu and Dazi smiled and shook his head. "I'm considered a master, but that guy has been scolding me, saying that I simply defiled their magic." The person he was talking about was naturally the soul-devouring monument. Whenever he was awake, the old man would scold Dazi every time he used physical skills or swordsmanship. Although it was annoying, it also promoted his growth. "I'm too ignorant, and I should not be complacent. I should practice my skills well." After saying that, the old swordsman left here. At this time, the voice of the machine came to Yu and Dazi's ears. "The time flow rate here is 24:1. You have passed the test and can leave this space at any time." He calculated the time, then took out his dark blade and began to practice the unmastered shadow, god slash and burial of the 7 swords. Half an hour later, Yu and Dazi opened the gate of glory. At this time, Sunia had already returned home, and Nobita was lying on the ground reading comics. Dazi picked up his school bag and took out his homework. "Nobita, it's time to do your homework." He had to put down the lion mask that he was reading and took out his homework from his school bag. He was in a good mood today. He just mastered the essentials of the stars and god slash and brushed up the proficiency of the first few styles. And most importantly, Yu and Dazi condensed the 4th mark in the Gate of Glory. After experiencing this natural force enhancement, his strength is comparable to that of a demon tribe's earth-splitting bull used to measure strength. It's a pity that he still hasn't mastered the last sword, otherwise the next action would be more secure. After spending more than an hour tutoring Nobita's homework, Yu and Dazi stretched and prepared to go home. Today is really a pleasant day. I have to pay attention to tomorrow's actions. Tomorrow is Friday, and they have agreed to go to Hokkaido together. As for the plane tickets, Yu and Dazi had contacted Kodama Yoshio last night and sent someone to deliver them. Yu and Dazi took the 3 plane tickets from the mailbox at home and put them in the storage space in the golden cloak. "I'm so sorry, Yunkei, I didn't tell you, because of your future." He apologized to him again in his heart and then began to prepare dinner. In less than an hour, Zayashin also went home to join the ranks of cooking. After dinner, Yu and Dazi was going to think of a way to explain to Zayashin that he would not be back tomorrow. Just when Zayashin was sitting in his seat and preparing to read a book, Yu and Dazi walked up to him and said what he had prepared. "Yunkei, I'm going to go out to play with Shizuka, Lizanayu and the others tomorrow." He turned his head and said with a slightly surprised expression, "Really? Where are we going to play?" Yu and Dazi put his hand on his shoulder and pretended to be very sorry. "I'm so sorry that you can't go." Why? Chumashin was a little bit unbelievable that this guy would go out to play without him. Yu and Dazi sighed and said helplessly, "There's nothing we can do. Shizuka won the prize this time, and there are only 3 places in total." Chumashin still didn't believe it. "Then why can't I go?" "Because you and Shizuka are both handsome boys." Yu and Dazi looked as if it was a matter of course. He didn't understand what Yu and Dazi meant and asked quickly, "So what?" Dazi looked at him pretending that he didn't want to hurt his feelings, and slowly told the truth. So we decided that we only need one handsome boy, and you are not as handsome as Shizuka. What? Dekisugi looked very shocked, and he was petrified in his seat. You actually eliminated me with this reason of making a stick. Seeing that he was so shocked, and as he walked over and patted Dekisugi on the shoulder. Just kidding. Shizuka is still unhappy that you have suppressed him for several years, so he won't take you. Then he left Shizuka's bedroom. No matter how he feels, just fool him. The next morning, and as he found time to tell them what he said to Shizuka yesterday, so that they would not be exposed later. After the teacher announced the end of school, the three of them confirmed the time and place of the meeting again, and then went back home. Dekisugi's condition has recovered today, and he is not as depressed as last night. After eating, and as he tidied his appearance and calculated the time to get ready to leave. Before leaving, Dekisugi gave and as a map of Hokkaido. You are a directionally challenged person. Remember not to get lost. He took the map. Don't worry, if you really can't find the way, I can teleport back home directly. He put on his shoes and walked to the door. He waved to and as at the door. Be careful on the road. Don't worry, I will definitely come back safely. Then he left without looking back. At school, Shizuka and Lizuna had already arrived early. Seeing that and as was late, Shizuka teased him. What's wrong? Dekisugi won't cry and ask you to take him with you, right? And as he was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, and handed them the plane tickets. Okay, this operation is not a joke, be serious. They took it, and looked at it, and said, the time of the ticket is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we should set off now. Yes, it's time to go now. On the way, I will explain to you the purpose and precautions of this operation. Let's go now. The three little boys walked out of the school. Looking at their formation, those who didn't know would think they were going on a picnic. This time we are going to a villa in Sapporo, Hokkaido. There are two ghosts, the resentful mother and Sadako, in it. This operation is to eliminate them. After stating the purpose, now it's time to talk about how to fight. Sadako's ability is a strong physical skill, so you should pay special attention to her claws. And the surrounding reverse current essence can weaken people's vitality. I believe you can all ignore this, right? Lizuna nodded. I'm fine. That thing has no effect on me. Shizuka was a little worried. I don't know about this. After all, I haven't encountered it. And as he thought about it and said, then if you can't ignore it at that time, I will put the cloak on you. Then and as he pointed at Lizuna, then let Lizuna tell us about the ability of the resentful mother. Okay. Lizuna stood up. The resentful mother manipulates a large number of infant resentments. These are her lives. She can control the infant resentments to possess other people, or use them to attack, pollute people's souls, and draw out their most primitive resentment and desires. Then he was silent for a while before saying, moreover, as long as one infant resentment escapes, she can be resurrected. Chapter 194 Happy Shizuka. In the small town, Nobita and Doraemon are playing baseball. I'm going to throw it, Nobita said to Doraemon next to him with his pitching gloves. The blue fat man swung his bat confidently. Just come at me. Nobita immediately threw his ball. Doraemon's camera carefully captured the trajectory of the baseball and swung the bat at the right time. Bang! The blue fat man successfully hit a home run. Great. Doraemon immediately threw away the bat and began to celebrate on the ground. And Nobita began to yell at Doraemon, what are you happy about? Now you don't know where the baseball has gone. After you hit it, why don't you find it quickly? The two began to search for the place where the baseball flew out and gradually walked from the gap behind the open space to the small yard at the back. At this time, a middle-aged man came out. Really, you guys threw that baseball just now? Nobita and the others looked at the middle-aged man and asked in confusion, why do I remember that there was no one in this place before? The middle-aged man ignored their questions and pulled the two of them into his house to show them a broken statue. This is a medieval statue worth 10 million yen, and you broke it. How do you think you should compensate? Why don't you take me to meet your parents? What? 10 million? After hearing this data, the two were scared out of their wits. Doraemon's processor was temporarily blocked by this amount. Not to mention now, even in the future, when inflation is rampant, he has never seen so much money. In the end, the two were unable to repay the debt and took the middle-aged man back to their home. He explained this to his mother and was almost scared to death. But as a parent, Nobita's mother resisted the discomfort and began to negotiate with the other party. Our family can't afford so much money for the time being. Can you please make some concessions now? The middle-aged man seemed to be angry and immediately refused the idea. No, that statue is very expensive. What if you default on the debt? The mother begged for a long time in a low voice, and the middle-aged man finally relaxed the repayment period. Well, I'll give you a few days to raise the money, but I won't wait too long. After saying that, she slammed the door shut. The mother wanted to teach Nobita and the others a lesson, but when she thought of the huge debt of 10 million, she suddenly lost her mood. You two go back to the room first. I need to discuss this with your father. Then she went back to the living room to worry secretly. Nobita and Doraemon also went back with heavy hearts. After getting off the plane, Kodomo Yoshio had already brought people to wait for them at the airport. Seeing that none of the three of them had the child who looked easy to talk to, he was a little confused. Excuse me, where is the other person? Yu and Daisy answered him casually. He has something to do today and can't come. Without further ado, take us to the villa. Take advantage of the fact that the sun has not yet set. Yes, please get in the car and follow me. Kodomo Yoshio led them into a black car. After driving for more than half an hour, they walked out of the city and stopped on a mountain. The superpowers present were a little uneasy because this place made the three of them feel a little uncomfortable. What did they do? Why is the yin energy here so heavy? Lisa Nayu noticed the source of this strangeness and couldn't help but frowned. Yu and Daisy also felt unhappy. Is there no good way to dispel these negative energy? Lisa Nayu shook his head regretfully and said, no, the best way is to kill the two ghosts directly. Without them, no matter what method is used, it is impossible to gather such a large amount of negative energy. At this time, Kodomo Yoshio said, we can only send it here. If I go any further, my body will not be able to bear it. They nodded to show their understanding. Okay, you just find someone to wait here. Looking at the villa in the distance, the remaining 1 kilometer or more of the journey can only be walked by themselves. Kodomo Yoshio took some people back, leaving only a black car in place, waiting for their triumphant return. About halfway through the journey, the surrounding negative energy became heavier. How do you two feel? Yu and Daisy saw that their pace had slowed down and asked them. Lisa Nayu blew on his hand. I'm fine for now, just a little cold. Shizuka gradually became depressed. It's okay, but I feel very unhappy. I always have the urge to hit people. Lisa Nayu hurriedly said, your negative emotions are aroused by them. You must be careful and never be driven by your instincts. He didn't take it to heart. Don't worry, I'm the one who controls negative emotions. My own negative emotions can be used as new nutrients for my dark power. Just as they were chatting, a stone suddenly flew out from the woods next to them. The speed was so fast that it didn't seem like it could be thrown by a human. Yu and Daisy smashed the stone with a wave of his hand. Don't hide, come out by yourself. As soon as the voice fell, a group of adults in black suits appeared in front of them. Their eyes were red, and they were faintly bloodthirsty. Lisa Nayu immediately explained their situation. Be careful, these guys are controlled. You don't have to treat them as human beings. Shizuka immediately stopped them. Don't do it. These guys are full of negative emotions. I want to have a good meal. Hearing this, the two of them stepped aside. With Shizuka's strength, it is not difficult to deal with this group of ordinary people, even if they have been strengthened by evil spirits. A few minutes later, Shizuka greedily absorbed the dark energy from the last man. When his dark energy was drained, his body finally turned into a pile of bones. This is not the effect of Shizuka's ability, but the guy's life energy has been forcibly stimulated. After losing support, it will naturally become like this. Shizuka threw the bones to the ground and said, okay, let's move on. The two of them looked at the pile of bones on the ground, without a trace of sympathy in their hearts. At this time, the resentful mother in the villa was furious. These men are too stupid, aren't they? He told you to go out, so you went out. If he told you to die, would you die for them to see? They didn't know the ghost mother's emotions. but just walked forward. Just now, Shizuka absorbed a lot of primitive desires, and he felt that his next ability was about to take shape, and he was very excited. Now he had some small expectations for the enemy. Will there be such good things on the road? I'm really looking forward to it. In the villa, the resentful mother said to the servants, "My scouts are dead. At least they have completed their mission. Now it's your turn. Go and clear the obstacles for me." Dozens of figures kneeling below answered in unison, "For our mother, we are willing to die." Then they walked out of the villa. They already knew their ending, but they had no complaints about it. You should have noticed that the status of this book has become a contract, so I'm very happy. Of course, this is good news for me, but it may not be very friendly to you, because it means that the book will be on the shelves soon. Chapter 195 Entering the House. The ghost mother looked at the people she had transformed and thought silently, Sadako will not come out until the night, and there is not much time left before dark. As he said that, he continued to change the layout of the house and set up a magic circle. The opponent's strength is not weak either, so they need to be treated with caution. Not long after walking, Yu and Dazi found that 34 people were running towards them within his sensing range, and now they were less than 200 meters away from them. Because of the fog nearby, Yu and Dazi's current sensing range has become much smaller, so it is impossible to explore too far. Yu and Dazi reminded them to be alert around. Everyone be careful, someone is coming here again, and it seems that they are not friendly. Shizuka and Lizanayu gradually entered the battle mode. Shizuka took out the greed blade, and Lizanayu took out his ancestral peachwood sword. Speaking of this sword, it is also magical. After taking it out, the fog swelling around him instantly decreased a lot. It seems that peachwood can indeed be used to restrain some ghosts. Many people came near them, and his wooden spirit staff was also in his hand. Seeing that the children had discovered their whereabouts, they stopped hiding and walked in front of them. "You are the people that mother mentioned, right? Everyone must kill him at all costs." After saying that, the man in black immediately charged towards them. Yu and Dazi slammed his staff into the ground, and a cold current began to spread out from him. Except for a few leaders who reacted quickly, the rest of the people who charged were frozen by Yu and Dazi. Shizuka immediately said, "Leave these guys to me, I will never be lazy at the back." They nodded and agreed with him. "Okay, then, be careful and don't let them deal with you." Shizuka put away the greedy blade, and the dark energy gathered in his hands. "You guys, just become a part of me." Then he punched the guy away, grabbed his feet, and began to absorb his dark power. It's delicious. This kind of pure negative emotion, I have never experienced it before. As he absorbed it, he sighed that the quality of the power here was very good. After he had defeated these leaders for several moves, most of them were beaten into mummies by his ability. At this moment, Shizuka's palm gradually cracked, and a mouth covered with spikes grew out, emitting a chilling cold light. Is it because of the strong desire for gluttony this time that the ability of gluttony is awakened? Shizuka took out his hand and looked at the two extra mouths on it. Is this the mouth of gluttony? It looks very good. He raised his hand and used his new ability on the remaining few people. Blood red energy flew out of their bodies and gradually merged into Shizuka's body. At this time, Yu and Dazi could feel that Shizuka's soul strength and physical fitness were steadily improving. Of course, this growth rate will slowly slow down with the number of people absorbed. After getting rid of these annoying guys, it was also almost sunset. Everyone's shadows were infinitely stretched by the setting sun, and they walked into the endless darkness represented by the villa with their backs to the light. Looking at the house in front of him, Yu and Dazi confirmed in his heart that this was the place. The yin-ki was so thick that it was almost visible to the naked eye. Lizanayu reminded them, "We must fight quickly. If we wait until 12 o'clock in the evening, when the yin-ki is the heaviest, our chances of winning will be greatly reduced." After hearing what he said, everyone began to hurry up. "I know, let's go in now. The sun is about to set." The three children walked into this huge yin house. Pushing open the heavy door, there was a European-style hall inside. The villa, which should have been brightly lit, now had no light except for the afterglow of the sunset. The air was filled with the smell of long rotten food, which made Yu and Dazi feel a little nauseous. There were strange paintings on the surrounding red walls. One of them was a woman in white walking by the lake with an umbrella. The other was a withered skeleton surrounded by countless men. Shizuka walked to the wall and wiped the red wall with his fingers. He looked at the dust on his fingers and said, judging from the dust on the wall, no one has lived here for nearly a month. A month. It seems that the ghost mother came here after escaping from us last time. It was my mistake to give them so much time to prepare. Lisa Nayu looked at the second floor and asked them, what should we do now? Split up and search. Yu and Dashi immediately denied this. What if we split up and accidentally encounter the two of them joining forces? In horror movies, it is often the lone person who dies first. Everyone was silent in the hall for a while and began to think about the countermeasures here. A few minutes later, the sun finally set completely. At this moment, the concentration of the surrounding yin ki suddenly increased. Then a telekinesis rushed over and closed the door behind them. The light around them began to disappear rapidly, replaced by an extremely thick fog. Facing this scene, Yu and Dashi and Shizuka were not panicking. It seems that they are going to do it for real. Everyone, get ready. As a young Taoist priest with little practical experience, Lisa Nayu had no idea what to do now, and he hid behind them without any moral integrity. Are you sure this guy can really help? Shizuka didn't even turn his head and began to complain about what Lisa Nayu did. And as he covered his forehead with his hand and sighed, his combat power is only 5, but it's better than nothing. So why did you bring him along? To make up the numbers? Dashi nodded and admitted this. Yeah, I can't think of any other use for this guy except to make up the numbers. Just use him, maybe it will be okay. Just as they were chatting, the surrounding environment suddenly began to change, and the murals on the wall suddenly rippled like water waves, and the characters on the murals came out of the wall. On their left was a woman in white holding an umbrella, slowly walking towards them, as if she wanted to share an umbrella with someone. On the other side, a pile of bones covered themselves with skins in front of us, and turned into a beautiful woman, and walked towards them. Judging from her posture, she might want to spend a good night with them, but at least you can skip the step of covering yourself with skins. When the two female ghosts slowly approached them, Lisa Nayu, who knew ghosts the most among the three, immediately told them their origins. He first pointed to the woman in white on the left and said, "This is the Rain Girl. If you share an umbrella with her, she will always haunt you. You can subdue her with salt." Then he pointed to another naked woman and said, She is. I dare not look." Before he finished speaking, he turned his head to wipe the blood from his nose. Shizuka also stared at her and refused to move his eyes away, but after a few seconds, his desire was suppressed as the source of his own power. Chapter 196, Fair Battle. The mother of resentment floated in the sky in a red dress, watching the picture sent back by the infant resentment. It is said that heroes are hard to resist the temptation of beauty. I want to see if you young boys who are not experienced in the world can resist the temptation of beauty. Now she is very satisfied with her strategy and luck. When she came back, she happened to meet a few ghosts who were sealed by someone, so she brought them back together. It seems that the effect of these female ghosts is quite good. But when she saw the countermeasures of these children, her face was full of disbelief. What? Is there such a thing? The Rain Girl slowly walked to Yu and Dashi, squatted down and asked him, "Little friend, are you interested in going out with your sister to see the rain scene?" After that, she calmly showed him a part of the weapon on her chest. Yu and Dashi said that he was very calm and took out a pickled cucumber from his storage space and handed it to her. "Of course. As long as you hold it, I will go with you to see the rain scene, no matter how long you want." Rain Girl took his cucumber without any defense. "Then little friend, She looked at the cucumber in her hand with horror, and her body gradually began to dry up. In the end, her body turned into a skeleton and fell to the ground. Shizuka was even more ruthless and pierced the body of the bone girl with the greedy blade without hesitation. "I'm so sorry, although you can arouse my desire, it has no effect on me who can control negative emotions." Lisa Nayu was stunned behind them. He could understand Shizuka, but how did you and Dashi get rid of Rain Girl? He quickly asked, "Why did he die when you gave her a pickled cucumber?" Yu and Dashi yawned. "Are you talking about this?" Then he switched from Japanese to Chinese and said, because Rain Girl has no melon, I gave her a cucumber. She has a melon, and she is no longer Rain Girl. After listening to his explanation, Lisa Nayu had a face full of question marks. Seeing their expressions, Yu and Dazi knew that they didn't understand his joke at all, so he had to give them a serious explanation. Well, actually I pickled the cucumbers with salt. Didn't Lisa Nayu just say that? Rain Girl can be dealt with salt. After hearing his explanation, the resentful mother upstairs smashed her dressing table in anger. Damn it, you are lucky this time. Wait, I will make you look good when I come up. Yu and Daz's hearing is far superior to that of ordinary people, and he immediately locked onto the place where the sound was made just now. Come with me, I roughly know her location. After saying that, he took the trio to the bedroom on the second floor. Damn it, I was really careless just now. But we are not vegetarians here. The resentful mother found through the eyes of the infant resentment that the sound she made when she was angry just now had alarmed them, so she began to prepare for a head-on confrontation. Then she said to a floating eye next to her, we should call Sadako out now, and you too, stop hiding. The three of them will never let us go. After that, the resentful mother stuffed the videotape into the TV, and gradually a large number of eyeballs began to gather around them, and finally turned into a woman with a hood standing in front of them. This time, I will make you pay the price. Lisa Nayu felt the difference in the air and quickly reminded them, everyone be careful, I feel like there seems to be a demon in the air. Yu and Dazi knew nothing about the classification of ghosts and demons, but he also guessed that the resentful mother had found new helpers to deal with them, and was secretly on guard in his heart. It doesn't matter, no matter how many come, we can just eliminate them. Yu and Dazi comforted them, which can also be said to be a manifestation of his confidence in his strength. When they walked to the door of a room, the three of them stopped together. Because the yin energy in this room was so strong, even Shizuka, an outsider, could feel it. Then we have to go in. As he said, Yu and Dazi stretched out his hand to open the door. At this moment, he suddenly felt a palpitation, and quickly let go of his hand, and dodged to the side. A cold light shot out from the back of the door, piercing through 3 layers of wood before stopping. Humph, opening the door to kill this kind of thing, we are tired of using it in movies. Yu and Dazi calmed down, and decided to change the strategy of opening the door. The second level spell was instantly added. He is now a 3rd level Force Seal magician, and has experienced the baptism of natural forces twice. Now, in terms of physical fitness, he should have the strength of 10 people, comparable to an adult earth-breaking bull of the demon clan. Coupled with the 5-fold bonus of the 2nd level spell, he gradually felt a little bit of expansion, and then kicked the door open with all his strength. The people inside thought that we would find a wall to hide first and open the door from the side. But unexpectedly, the door panel flew up the next moment and hit the face of the 100-eyed demon. Yu and Dazi immediately took out the wood spirit staff and swept a semicircle inside the door. The 3 demon women did not expect him to be so tough, and they were all swept out by his staff, and the resentful mother was no exception. Wood spirit staff, you bastard, I'm a staff. A staff? Is this how you use a staff? Shizuka and Lisa Nayu also followed and looked at the 3 female demons in the house. Now the 3 men and 3 women are about to start a fierce fight in this dark place. The ghost mother covered her belly, that had just been swept, and chuckled and praised him. You are still the same as before, always surprising me. Sadako next to her slowly stood up from the ground, and water kept dripping from her body. The 100-eyed demon also took off the door panel on his face. Yu and Dazi carefully felt their strength so as to distribute the combat power, and on the surface he was chatting with them to delay time. I don't think you have recovered much of the infant resentment you lost last time. The resentment mother's breath is the most unstable now. The loss of 60% of the infant resentment has seriously affected her strength. And Sadako is still the same as before, but it seems that she has harmed a lot of people during this period, and seems to be stronger than before. As for the woman with eyes all over her body, she is the strongest monster among them. The cold light just now should have been emitted by her. Now her strength is second only to Letina in the dark state. Letina at that time was a magician close to the 4th level. If it wasn't for the dawn, the embrace of the goddess of dawn and the sun gem together emitted light to restrain her and suppress her state to the lowest. Yu and Dazi would not dare to say that he could kill her now. However, compared with Letana, this guy is still a little bit behind. How dare you mention it? I will kill you. The red silk rolled into a sharp blade again, and the resentful mother said to the two, let's go together. Yu and Dazi also began to distribute the combat power. Jerry Saka will deal with Sadako, Lisa and I will go and chat with the resentful mother, and I will take care of the eyes. The three of them also rushed towards each other. The distance of just a few meters was meaningless in front of them. The first 3v3 fair battle is now officially started. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Dispersed Battle. The hundred-eyed monster opened her eyes, and cold rays of light shot out from her eyes. Yu and Dazi slammed the wooden spirit staff into the ground. Earth barrier. A wall of earth rose from the ground, blocking her loving gaze. Seeing that her attack was ineffective, she rushed to the front of the earth wall and slapped it with one claw. There were not many earth element here, so the power of the earth barrier was not strong. In addition, her claw hit the place where her gaze had hit before, instantly defeating Yu and Dazi's earth barrier. At this moment, a wooden staff rose from below and hit the chin of the hundred-eyed monster. She was hit by this sudden powerful force, and her body flew up uncontrollably, breaking the ceiling and going to the third floor. Yu and Dazi also put on a golden cloak, flew into the hole that was just broken by the hundred-eyed monster, and continued to fight with her. The other two were very dangerous to the hundred-eyed monster, and now only Yu and Dazi could fight with her, which was why he targeted her. Shizuka and Sadako's hands collided, and neither of them was willing to let go. At this time, Sadako tried to absorb his vitality with the essence of reverse water, and Shizuka also tried to absorb her resentment with her mouth of gluttony. At this moment, both of them realized that their opponents had ill intentions, and withdrew their hands at the same time. After taking a few steps back, Sadako showed her nails, and Shizuka also summoned her greed blade. Ding. The nails and the blade collided, rubbing out red sparks. Neither of them was willing to admit that their strength was weaker than the other, and their hands continued to increase. In the end, the floor could not withstand their strength, and broke a hole, sending the two to the first floor. Lisa now drew out his peachwood sword, and touched the red silk of the resentful mother. At this time, the restraining effect of peachwood on ghosts was highlighted. A puff of green smoke gradually emerged from the red silk of the resentful mother, and the heartbroken resentful mother had to withdraw her sword. Just as Lisa Nayu was about to take advantage of the victory, the resentful mother suddenly spit out a burst of red mist, which completely wrapped the huge bedroom inside, and isolated the space on the second floor. Yu and Dazi came to the third floor wearing a golden cloak, and several rays of light flew towards him. He threw his cloak calmly, and the cold light was bounced off. Seeing that the hundred-eyed monster had no intention of coming out, Yu and Dazi mocked, "Don't play these little tricks. If you want to kill me, use your real skills." As soon as the voice fell, a strong wind came from behind. Yu and Dazi quickly turned over to avoid the threat, and at the same time, saw the flying object clearly. Is it an eyeball? He kept feeling that he was being spied on. His induction skills had been compressed to a limit, and he couldn't find out the situation around him. Swish, swish, swish. Countless cold eyes flew from all directions. Yu and Dazi quickly retracted his cloak, and turned it into a ball, to block all the lasers. Seeing that the child was hiding, the hundred-eyed monster shot more fiercely from outside. However, Yu and Dazi's cloak was a level 5 magic weapon that was recovering, and it was not something that her attack power could penetrate. Seeing this, she also began to taunt. What's wrong with you? You were so arrogant just now, but now you are like a coward. If you have the guts, come out and fight. Just as she finished speaking, Yu and Dazi unfolded his cloak and raised his staff, Sunshine. The magic stone on the top emitted a dazzling light. In this dark place, the damage to the eyeballs was more than doubled. All the eyes of the hundred-eyed monster were pierced by the strong light and tears came out, and they closed their eyes involuntarily. The opportunity has come. Yu and Dazi decided to launch an attack at this time. With a wave of the staff, a cold current surged out, and a layer of frost formed on the nearby floor. The eyeballs that had just shed tears could not open temporarily, because the tears were frozen by the cold air. Just when Yu and Dazi was about to take this opportunity to prepare a large magic electrostatic force field, the hundred-eyed monster gave up opening his eyes and decided to hit him while his eyes were frozen. He wanted to use the golden cloak to resist these eyeballs, but the golden cloak was not very strong in defense against this kind of impact attack. In addition, the power of the eyeball exceeded his expectations. When the eyeball hit Yu and Dazi's abdomen, he felt his stomach churning and couldn't continue chanting. Looking at the remaining dozens of eyeballs, he had to give up the idea of using his body to resist and began to dodge here and there. Just as its attack slowed down, a flash of lightning appeared above Yu and Dazi's staff. Level 2 lightning magic. Lightning magic. This is one of his most commonly used magic. Not only is it fast, but it is also powerful. With his current physical fitness, it is not a problem to resist the backlash of lightning magic. The blue lightning struck its eyeball, and Yu and Dazi faintly heard a shrill wail. Several eyeballs fell to the ground helplessly, and most of the surface was charred. Obviously, Yu and Dazi's behavior angered her, and the eyeballs that had just slowed down launched a crazy attack again. Dazi immediately used his staff as a baseball bat and kept hitting her eyeballs. Wood Spirit Staff, Ayubag ****. Soon, she had to stop attacking because she couldn't bear the damage. Dozens of eyeballs gathered together again and turned into the familiar female hundred-eyed monster. Looking at her appearance, Yu and Dazi had guessed her identity based on the Japanese legends he had heard. You don't look particularly strong, are you? Is it because you don't have 100 eyeballs? Damn it, I still need more than 10 eyeballs to become a real hundred-eyed monster, and you broke my eyeballs. It's unforgivable. After saying that, she opened all her eyeballs and focused her sight on Yu and Dazi. Yu and Dazi suddenly felt a strange feeling sweeping over his body, and then he couldn't move. Seeing that Yu and Dazi had been hit, she laughed triumphantly. Being stared at by my demon eyes. Even if you are a mage with stronger cultivation than me, you will lose your ability to move. Then, she walked in front of Yu and Dazi, with 2 more holes on her arm, and stretched out her hand to him. Using your eyes is enough to make up for the eyes I lost. No, it will be better than the previous eyes. Just as her hand was about to touch Yu and Dazi's eyes, Yu and Dazi's eyes suddenly emitted a burst of lightning and hit her body. A tingling feeling spread from her hand to her whole body, and then there was a sharp pain in her eyeballs. The stinging pain caused by the electric shock forced her to close her eyes again. This was because Yu and Dazi chanted a spell in his heart when she walked over and used a quick attack 3rd level magic lightning eye. He regained his mobility and hit her on the head with a stick. How is it? My million-volt eyes are not inferior to your demon eyes, right? Being hit by this lightning without any defense, even he would be seriously injured. Not to mention this hundred-eyed monster whose physical fitness is far inferior to Yu and Dazi. She realized that she could not open her eyes for the time being, and quickly spread her body to prevent Yu and Dazi from causing her a second injury. Physical. Chapter 198. Intrusion. Yu and Dazi didn't intend to let her go. The feud had already been made. If she really gathered 100 eyeballs to come back for revenge, it would be really troublesome. He picked up the staff and chanted the spell again, ready to use magic to directly understand this evil female ghost. Seeing Yu and Dazi chasing him relentlessly, he once again surrounded him with his eyes. You force me to do this. I killed a man named Uchiha back then. Now I'll show you what Uchiha's eyes are capable of. Atsuku Aomi. What? And the Sharingan? Yu and Dazi was shocked at the time. Why did the things of Naruto come here? Although they are all two-dimensional things, this intrusion is even more excessive than a Ichiraku ramen. No, I can't look into her eyes. Wait. This is also an opportunity. Thinking of this, Yu and Dazi immediately used soul interference to poke his eyes, and then pretended to look around in panic. At this moment, a seemingly ordinary eye turned blood red, and two crescent-shaped marks rotated in the eyeball. You've been caught in my illusion. I want you to be neither alive nor dead. As she spoke, tears of blood flowed from her eyes. Damn you, you hurt my eyes so badly. My pupil power is replenishing very slowly. Yu and as he heard the sound of blood dripping on the ground and began to detect in that direction with his induction technique. In order not to sense her pupils, Yu and as he only saw the eyeballs dripping blood and stopped. Strange, why can't I see my illusion? Is it because my pupil power was consumed too much before? Just as she began to talk to herself, an ice cone pierced into the tearful Sharingan. No matter how good this thing is, if he doesn't use it now, he can't keep it. And he didn't want to dig out his eyeball and replace it with another one like in Naruto. Putting aside the bloody issue, Yu and as he didn't want to go through the trouble of changing an eye. Why didn't you fall into my illusion? Yu and as he didn't answer her, and he didn't remove the soul interference. Because he didn't forget that a person has two eyeballs. Forget it, for the sake of once and for all, I'd better let you die more cleanly. As he said that, Yu and as he put away the wood spirit staff and took out his trump card dark blade from his hand. You have done many evil things. Let me judge you from the devil today. He touched the sword with his hand, and dark golden magic patterns appeared on the sword. The 100-eyed monster felt the crisis of life and death, and did not care to use the remaining eye to trick him, so he scattered all his eyes and ran away. Remember, I will definitely come back. Yu and as he put the sword on his waist, closed his eyes, and made a gesture of drawing the sword. Don't bother so much, you are not Grey Wolf. In order to make both of us feel a little more relaxed, let's make an understanding now. As he said that, Yu and as his sea of consciousness suddenly became silent, and the surrounding scene turned completely black. But in the surrounding night, light spots gradually emerged, like starlight in the dark night. And each starlight represents an eyeball of the 100-eyed monster. After he locked onto all the eyeballs, he suddenly drew his sword, 7 swords of the Demon King, stars. In the next second, Yu and as he drew his sword as many times as the stars he sensed in his sea of consciousness, and each sword accurately hit a star. Outside, each of Yu and as his swords released a sword energy, piercing an eyeball that was escaping. A total of 82 eyeballs were revealed, and they have been confirmed to be completely destroyed. Looking at the eyeballs falling from the sky, Yu and as he once again confirmed that all the eyeballs had been pierced. Then he waved his hand, and a flame burned all the eyeballs to ashes. Let's go and see what the battle is like below. After saying that, he jumped into the pit he came up from. In the room on the first floor, Shizuka and Sadako were fighting fiercely. There were many scratches on the surrounding walls and famous paintings. The swords and nails of the two were still colliding, and they were temporarily evenly matched. Seeing that Shizuka could actually compete with her resentment that she had cultivated for decades, Sadako was shocked. Are all the kids nowadays so difficult? But I'm not an easy person to get along with. Then, Sadako suddenly turned into a pool of water and disappeared in front of Shizuka. The surrounding reverse water spirits seemed to have received some call and turned from mist into water droplets, merging with the water on the ground. What kind of trick is this? Shizuka's actual combat experience was not enough after all, and he had no means to deal with this situation. Not good. Shizuka quickly dodged to the side, and a water blade pierced the position where Shizuka stood before. As soon as he stood on the ground, the water blade attacked again. After dodging several times, Shizuka's range of movement had been reduced to the limit. Damn, although I can't beat you, you look like this. I think I can eat you. As he said, Shizuka ignored the flying water drops, opened the gluttonous mouths on his hands, and pressed them into the pool below. You are really a lunatic. The spirit of the reverse current can cause great harm to people. Stop it. Under Sadako's unwilling roar, all the spirit of the reverse current, along with Sadako, was sucked into Shizuka's hands. After that, Shizuka stood in place and began to slowly absorb Sadako's resentment. After Yu and as he broke into the pink mist in the middle, he heard the voice of the resentful mother in his ears. You are finally here. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Her figure appeared in front of Yu and as he, holding a child in her hand. Lee Zinai was unconscious because he inhaled too much red mist. Dazhi looked at her and said calmly, so, what do you want to do now? Let me die in front of you? If you are so naive, I can only say sorry. Yawning, Yu and Azzy continued, "Don't even think about asking me to put down my weapon or something like that. I don't care whether he lives or dies." The corners of the resentful mother's mouth twitched slightly. Why is this script a little different from what was expected? The situation was temporarily deadlocked, and they were all waiting for the outcome of the battle below. More than 10 minutes later, the two of them stared at each other with dead fish eyes, and both of them cursed the remaining two people in their hearts. "Are you two guys going to have a baby down there? Why haven't any of you come up yet? No matter who comes up, they can break the deadlock. Forget it, let's decide the winner as soon as possible." Yu and Azzy had lost his patience and decided to find a way to break the deadlock. There are not many rules that can be used here, and chanting spells takes time. She has been guarding against my sword all the time, and there is nothing I can do now. At this moment, a voice came to Yu and Azzy's ears. "Finally got rid of her. It's so annoying." The resentful mother in front immediately dodged. "Damn it, there is no way to delay time anymore." Lee Zinai was holding a talisman emitting blue light at this time, wandering aimlessly. Yu and Azzy looked at the child and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although he said that he didn't care about his life or death, if he really died, his conscience would hurt. Why there is a Sharingan in this world will be explained later. By the way, I should be releasing it on Friday, and I will update 3 chapters tomorrow to make it 200 chapters. Thank you for your support. Chapter 199 Victory. Have you solved the 100-eyed monster? Lee Zinai saw Yu and Azzy return to the second floor and hurriedly asked him about the 100-eyed monster. Azzy nodded, but he was full of vigilance in his heart. He still couldn't rule out the possibility that this guy was an illusion of the resentful mother. He took out the wood spirit staff and used a gust of wind to dispel the fog here. The red figure of the resentful mother floated in the sky and was flying towards the cave downstairs. "Humph, you want to run?" Thunder and lightning. A lightning bolt struck the resentful mother's path, forcing her to stop. Lee Zinai saw this opportunity and smeared another talisman on the sword. The talisman began to burn on the sword, soul-destroying spirit fire. He slashed at the resentful mother. The blue flames turned into several streams of light in the air and flew towards the resentful mother. She knew the harm these things could do to her, so she dodged quickly. But the flames were like maggots on the tarsal bones, chasing her trail. Yu and Azzy also cooperated with Lee Zinai's attack and once again blocked her path with lightning. In order to avoid the lightning, the resentful mother was careless for a moment, and the flames fell on her body and began to burn wildly. Damn it. Now she could not care about the loss. If she did not do something, she would not be able to escape. A spiritual force mixed with resentment was released from the soul of the resentful mother, and the surrounding walls began to collapse. They also felt a cold force trying to invade their bodies. The crystal ball between Yu and Azzy's eyebrows formed a spiritual barrier to exclude this force. This trick is useless. If you want to break through the obstruction of the crystal ball, you can only go all out and send all your soul into my sea of consciousness. Lee Zinai also pasted a talisman on his forehead to block the resentment from entering his body. Damn it, there is no other way. The resentful mother knew that her methods would not work on them. She could only use most of her infant resentment to delay them, just like the last time she escaped. After making up her mind, the ghost mother's body exploded again, and dozens of infant resentments began to fly towards them. There were more than 10 infant resentments who wanted to escape from the house. After the mistake that let her escape last time, Yu and Azzy had been on guard against this move. Seeing her body explode again, he immediately injected his mental power into the dark blade. Then he used mental power to transmit a message to Lee Zinai. Squat down. He didn't know why Azzy asked him to do this, but out of trust in him, Lee Zinai squatted down immediately. Yu and Azzy locked every infant resentment with his soul and used the stars again. The number of infant resentments was not as many as eyeballs, and the target was larger. His sword energy easily pierced every infant resentment, without missing a single one. Originally, this move was used to deal with the mother resentment when she escaped, and now she died a worthy death. Seeing that Yu and Azzy had destroyed every infant resentment, Lee Zinai finally breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, this time she is really dead. Just when they all thought it was over, all the destroyed infant resentments suddenly gathered again and formed the mother resentment in the air. At this time, her condition was very bad, with many more wounds on her body, all of which were emitting black smoke. The resentment continued to dissipate from the wound, and her figure gradually faded. I'm going to die soon, but I want to take you with me before I die. After saying that, a remote control appeared in her hand. I have buried hundreds of kilograms of black powder under here, which will explode within 30 seconds. Just enjoy the last 30 seconds of your life. In the last madness of the resentful mother, she pressed the detonation button. What? These ghosts can use high technology. Yu and Daisy was shocked and speechless. There was no time to hesitate now, and they had to go down to find Shizuka. The two of them immediately went down to the first floor through the hole that Shizuka and the others had just made, and saw Shizuka kneeling on the ground. Yu and Daisy hurried over to shake him. Shizuka, we are leaving quickly, this place is going to explode. He turned his head and spoke with difficulty. I just swallowed the essence of Nishu, and I can't move. Yu and Daisy swept his mental power, and immediately understood his condition. Did you eat the wrong thing? I know what to do. Look at my Lushan Xinglangba. The fist hit his stomach with lightning speed, making him vomit all the Nishu essence in his stomach. Ugh. Can you be gentle? After vomiting, he wiped the corner of his mouth, stood up with difficulty, and walked with them. Yu and Daisy also rolled up the Nishu essence by the way, and then left here. Just as they had walked to the hall, there was a violent vibration from below, followed by a deafening explosion. No, there is not enough time. Yu and Daisy could rush out directly, but he couldn't leave these two people here. It seems that we can only bear it head on. 100 kilograms of explosives? It should be no problem. Yu and Daisy grabbed the heads of the two of them and pressed them under the cloak. Then the cloak turned into a ball and wrapped the three of them. At the same time, Yu and Daisy increased the output of magic power to make the protective layer of the golden cloak thicker to deal with the next impact. Just after the wrapping was completed, an impact hit the cloak. The golden cloak is worthy of being a level 5 magic weapon. There is still no sign of damage under this level of impact, and even the high heat outside is completely isolated. After waiting for dozens of seconds after the impact dissipated, Yu and Daisy removed the protection of the golden cloak. At this time, the house outside had been almost destroyed, but it still barely maintained its original appearance. It's really tragic. The two of them looked at the raging fire around them, and couldn't help but sigh. Daisy glanced at them and scolded. You two are still in the mood to talk here. Hurry up. It will be troublesome if the house collapses. The two woke up from their dreams and ran towards the direction of the door. Their footsteps stepped on the wooden planks, and the floor made a sound of being unable to bear the weight, which made them very worried that the floor here would collapse. However, the quality of this villa is still good. Even though it was bombed, it did not collapse completely. It should also be related to the fact that the amount of explosives buried by the resentful mother was not too much. But no matter what, they have survived. Lee Zenai was a little sad that his peachwood sword was destroyed by the flames. He counted his remaining talismans while walking. Suddenly, he said with a little surprise, "Great, I actually brought a fireproof talisman this time." After that, he threw out a talisman to activate the power of the talisman. The fireproof talisman flew over Lee Zenai's head, and an invisible barrier formed around them. The flames automatically made way for a path, and everyone walked to the gate with confidence. Now the gate has been burned by the flames, and cannot be touched. Shizuka took out the blade of greed, and wanted to cut the gate open. But Yu and Daisy stretched out his hand to stop him. It's not convenient for your sword to cut this, let me do it. He remembered that the door was 15 centimeters thick. With Shizuka's strength, it was still difficult to cut it open. To be on the safe side, Yu and Daisy cast a 3rd level giant force technique on himself, and his body became as strong as if it were inflated. When he walked to the front door, he kicked open the thick wooden door with one foot, turned around and waved his hand to signal that they could leave. Lee Zenai walked out from the middle excitedly. Shizuka walked to the right of Lee Zenai, and Yu and Daisy walked out from his left. The three children walked out of a burning house. What they didn't notice was that a photography enthusiast happened to be on another hill. He had started filming when the house exploded, and now he happened to capture this scene, which scared him so much that he quickly picked up the camera and ran away. Chapter 200, Bluff. After making a circle on the hillside, they came to the foot of the mountain. At this time, the man in the black suit was still waiting for them. Seeing these children coming down from the top of the mountain, he bowed and opened the car door. "Young masters, please get in the car." They got back in the car, and the man in the suit immediately sent them to the hotel that had been booked long ago. After getting off the car, Yu and Daisy told the man, "Go back and report, and say that all the problems have been solved. We need to rest, don't bother us these days." He nodded quickly. "Yes, I will convey the young master's words." Then he got in the car and left. Everyone came to the hotel together, and some men in suits, who came to pick them up before hurriedly sent them to the room. After a while, a waiter brought today's dinner, because they all said that they had to exorcise the ghosts before the sunset, and when the yang energy was strong, they hadn't eaten dinner until now. After eating and drinking, Yu and Daisy lay on the bed in the luxury suite and fell asleep comfortably. The next morning, after they had breakfast, they asked those people to help us book air tickets. They couldn't stay here for too long. After all, they didn't bring their homework or change of clothes. Kodomo Yoshio came to see them off in person and confirmed the death of the resentful mother and Sadako. After Yu and Daisy recharged his amulet, he finally stopped pestering them. Before boarding the plane, the president suddenly said to him, "If you have any requests in the future, just ask me. As long as I can do it, I will definitely help you." Yu and Daisy nodded and turned to walk on the plane. Although he had never liked this old man, the people who met him were not bad, so he chose to help him. Now it seems that he didn't help the wrong person, and his mood gradually became cheerful. It was already 11 o'clock when he got home, and Zayashin was preparing lunch. "You're back. How was your fun?" Daisy replied casually, "It's okay. I had a lot of fun." "What delicious food are you making? Let me help too." After that, he tied an apron and joined the ranks of cooking at noon. At lunchtime, they turned on the noon news as usual. While we were eating, something unexpected suddenly appeared on the screen. Last night, a vicious attack occurred in Sapporo, Hokkaido. A villa exploded. Now let's take a look at the scene. Then the screen changed to a burning house. We can see the explosion after someone buried a bomb in this house. What's strange is this scene. As he spoke, the middle part of the camera was zoomed in and pointed at the door of the villa. Yu and Daisy felt something was wrong at the time. This villa looked very familiar. The burning door was suddenly kicked open by someone, and then several figures walked out. Because the fire was too strong, their faces could not be photographed. Yu and Daisy was relieved. It was okay not to photograph their faces. Then the screen suddenly froze, and the scene was exactly the moment when the three of us stood after walking out of the door. Now you can see that the person on the left is injured and holding a sharp blade, which can easily cut the stone. The scene of this commentary was Shizuka casually cutting off a stone slab blocking the road. And the man on the right is big and strong. He can easily kick open such a heavy door. We measured it afterwards and found that a wooden door weighs about 1 ton. This scene shows Yu and Daisy kicking open a door. As for the man in the middle, he is even more powerful. The blue light on his head can disperse the surrounding flames. These people are very dangerous, and the authorities have already intervened in the investigation. This time, it was the fireproof talisman on Lee Zenayu's head. After the talisman was activated, it flew to his head and emitted blue light. It should have been misunderstood by these people. Zayashin saw the news and couldn't help but mutter to himself, the three of them are really powerful. Then he turned to look at Yu and Daisy. "Daisy-kun, it seems that you are going to Sapporo this time too?" He nodded guiltily. Demishin put down his bowl, looked at Yu and Daisy and said, "Do you know their details?" He was silent for a while and said solemnly, "I didn't expect that the three of them were still alive. These three legendary demons." Zayashin immediately became nervous and asked, "Who are they?" Yu and Daisy also put down his bowl and said, "The burly man on the right is the strong warrior Darum, who has unparalleled strength." Then he pointed to Shizuka and said, "This is the agile warrior Hitler, who has a sword that can cut through everything and a speed that is unrivaled among the heroes." Finally, he pointed to Lee Zenayu in the middle and said, "This is the love and hate warrior Camilla, who can manipulate the surrounding element and is a superpower who can kill the enemy remotely." Then he pretended to be very nervous and bit his finger, saying, "In the family records, they should have been destroyed by the light warrior Tiga long ago." And as he was talking nonsense, but people who didn't know the inside story might believe it. Zyadishin trusted him and asked Yu and Daisuke if he had any way to deal with it. It's okay. Their goal should be the Celestial Empire. Naturally, someone there will deal with them. He picked up the bowl again and started eating. Zyadishin was relieved to see that this man was not panicking at all. If even he was not panicking, there should be no threat to them. Then Zyadishin suddenly thought, since the three of them were going to the Celestial Empire, why would they be in Hokkaido? He quickly asked Yu and Daisuke, then why did the three of them appear in that villa? He thought about it and decided to use this opportunity to talk about the three ghosts being killed. Maybe it's because Sadako and Resentful Mother are there too. According to the records, the three of them need the negative energy from humans and ghosts the most, so it should be to restore their strength. So, the two of them have been eliminated as well. He felt very surprised. This could be considered an unexpected surprise. Yu and Daisuke nodded and started to eat. He finally breathed a sigh of relief. It was really troublesome to fool Dekishan. Zyadishin touched his head and always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell. After thinking for a while, he finally got nothing and had to pick up his bowl to eat again. In the afternoon, Yu and Daisuke took his school bag to Nobita's house to give him extra lessons. But when he walked into the room, he found that Nobita's home suddenly became very depressing. Seeing that no one greeted him, I had to shout, "Aunt, I'm here to give Nobita extra lessons." Only then did my aunt appear in front of Yu and Daisuke with a depressed look. "It's Yu and Daisuke, I'm really sorry, our family can't hire a tutor for the time being." He was a little surprised. If you don't hire a tutor, then what about his extra income? So he hurriedly asked Nobita Mako the reason for her change of attitude. "Well, I should have improved Nobita's grades recently, right? Why did you suddenly change your mind at this time?" End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.